Wales by the afternoon into the evening. Small chance of a heavy shower over northern England, Northern Ireland too, but generally turning brighter through the central belt of Scotland during this evening, and a fresher westerly wind picking up across the far northwest of Scotland, bringing the odd shower in here, but also bringing that cooler feel, which will push further south as we go through the evening and overnight. Still staying pretty warm across the far south. It'll turn a bit misty in places, especially in the southwest. Murky conditions, especially around the coast like we have this morning. So another pretty mild night in the south, but further north that cooler air is arriving, so temperatures widely down into single digits. Friday, still one more warm day across the south, but it won't be as sunny and it won't be as warm as today. Again, around the coast in the southwest could stay a little murky and misty. Generally cloudier over northern England and the Midlands. Small chance of seeing a heavy shower, but most places dry. We will see a few scattered showers in the far northwest. Again, a fresher feel here with temperatures struggling to get out of single digits, whereas further south, one more warm day, temperatures in the mid-20s.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk, and at street parties all across the country. Join
us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic flypast.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock, only on GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel, and as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 12 o'clock on Thursday, the 1st of May. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Charlie Peters.
Well, the breaking news today, the FA has announced that transgender women will no longer be able to play in women's football from the 1st of June. This follows that historic Supreme Court ruling on the legal definition of a woman. We'll have the latest reaction.
And counter-terror police will investigate Irish hip-hop group Kneecap, who have been heavily criticised for allegedly telling crowds to kill your local MP. Footage has also emerged appearing to show a member of the trio shouting "Up Hamas" and "Up Hezbollah."
And yes, you may have noticed, but Britain braces for the hottest day of the year in what could be the warmest start to May ever recorded. We've sent our reporters out and about to soak up the sun.
London sizzles in the sunshine as locals and tourists mingle in Hyde Park, where temperatures go towards 30 degrees.
And we're celebrating 115-year-old Ethel from Surrey, who has officially become the world's oldest person. Born in 1909, she has lived through 2 world wars, 6 British monarchs, and 27 prime ministers. What a woman.
Wow. Makes you proud to be British, that we've now got the oldest woman alive.
Absolutely.
115 years old. 115. Would you like to live that long?
I'm not sure. Well, I'm also from Surrey. Perhaps there's something special about the county that keeps our longevity going.
That's a nice part of the world, isn't it, really?
Cozy.
You've got some greenery, you've got some
And lovely ladies called Ethel.
And lovely ladies called Ethel, who grow to ripe old ages of 115 years old. But yes, spare a thought for the people of Birmingham today, Charlie.
Absolutely. How could you not? I mean, the bins, 26,000 tonnes of waste in this sizzling heat. You see Doogie there looking slightly cooked down in Hyde Park. I can only imagine what it's like in Birmingham with all that waste lying
just
around.
Those bins. I mean, with the rats, the flies.
Feel for the rats as well, to be fair. Can't be nice for them either.
Food that's been left out for, what, 4 weeks now? 5 weeks?
And the rest,
6 weeks,
yes,
maybe.
yes.
It's been a long time now since this all kicked off.
Yeah.
That must be very stinky.
Absolutely. And keen to hear from you in Birmingham. Yeah, tell us, what's the pong like? We'd be keen to know.
Yeah, it's not everywhere.
No,
Some areas seem to be completely fine.
Yeah.
Other areas are absolute dumping site.
Yeah, so please do get in touch. You know how to do this by now, don't you? gbnews.com/your say. You can email us, you can tweet us as well. But before we get to your comments and all the headlines we've got to rush through, it's the news headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Charlie, thank you very much. The top stories: transgender women will no longer be able to play in women's football from June the 1st this year. English football's governing body, the FA, amended its rules last month, applying stricter eligibility criteria for trans women to continue playing in women's football, following the UK Supreme Court's ruling that the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex. The FA has scrapped that policy and banned trans women from participating in women's football. It follows a similar move by the Scottish FA this week after the UK Supreme Court ruling on the legal definition of a woman. The body of a teenager has been recovered from a lake in Nottinghamshire after reports of a 16-year-old boy getting into difficulty while swimming. A police underwater search team and the fire service also responded, finding the boy's body just before 8 o'clock last night. Police confirmed the boy's death was not being treated as suspicious. It comes as parts of the UK are set to experience the hottest day of the year so far. Forecasters are predicting temperatures could hit 30 degrees Celsius at the earliest point on record. The Met Office says if we reach 30 today, it'll be the earliest date in May that the UK has seen 30 degrees since our records began in 1860. The Met Office says temperatures reached 26.7 degrees in Surrey yesterday, making it the warmest day of the year so far. Despite the soaring temperatures, the Met Office has ruled out a heatwave this week. Voters head to the polls today for the country's local elections. The fate of 23 local authorities, 6 mayoral seats and the first by-election of this parliament hangs in the balance. Voting closes at 10 o'clock tonight. Stay with GB News for all the latest. The UK Foreign Secretary says the UK welcomes the signing of an economic deal between the US and Ukraine as the two countries signed an historic rare minerals deal last night. Late last night, the US Treasury announced a reconstruction investment fund for Ukraine, with the Ukrainian Prime Minister describing it as truly an equal and good international deal. It'll allow America to use Ukraine's natural resources, including things like oil and gases. In a post on X today, David Lammy said the UK's support for Ukraine remains remain steadfast. With our 100-year partnership, he said, we are deepening economic and security ties for the future generations of both our countries. President Donald Trump has asked for more time on the US economy as it shrank for the first time in 3 years, stoking recession fears. Mr. Trump says the figure was misleading because companies had stockpiled imports ahead of his imposition of tariffs.
But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th, and I think you have to get us a little bit of time to get moving, but this is the Biden economy.
The Metropolitan Police says counter-terrorism police will investigate online videos amid allegations footage of Northern Irish rap trio Kneecap appeared to show as members calling for the death of British MPs and shouting "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah." The force has said on the 22nd of April, "We were made aware of an online video believed to be from a music event in London in November last year. Following this, we were made aware of a further video believed to be from another music event in London in November 2023. It goes on to say that both videos were referred to the Counter-Terrorism Internet Referral Unit for assessment by specialist officers who have determined there are grounds for further investigation into potential offences linked to both videos. Elsewhere, crucial talks aimed at resolving the long-running Birmingham bin strike are taking place today. Last week, the Unite Union said it believed a deal to end the industrial action could be within touching distance. However, a row fled on Tuesday when the union accused Birmingham City Council of planning to cut the pay of bin lorry drivers by up to £8,000. The council insisted it's carrying out a fair and transparent job evaluation process jointly agreed with trade unions to ensure it complies with equal pay laws. Members of the union have been on all-out strike since March, leading to rubbish piling up on the streets. And His Majesty the King has reflected on his experiences with cancer as he hosted representatives from community-based cancer organisations and initiatives at Buckingham Palace last night. The King, alongside Queen Camilla, thanked those who support cancer patients and their loved ones, praising the profound impact of human connection offered by those working in cancer care. His Majesty said each new cancer diagnosis will be a daunting and at times frightening experience for those individuals and their loved ones. He went on to quote the late Dame Deborah James, who encouraged everyone to always have rebellious hope. And those are the latest headlines for now. More from me in half an hour.
Well, it's 12:07. You're with me and Charlie. I'm Emily, and that's Charlie.
I'm Charlie.
And yes, today it's a bit of a funny day. The polls are open for the local elections, and so therefore we're going to be steering clear of the overtly political, but we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah, thankfully this country isn't just politics. There's plenty of, I wouldn't say normal news, because what we're about to talk about certainly isn't normal, but there's all sorts going on in the country, so please do get in touch. If you've got a story, we've got 3 hours, so let us know, we'll be there.
Now, is this long awaited? This is the news that the FA, the Football Association, has just announced that transgender women, so people born male, will no longer be able to play in women's football from June the 1st this year. Now, this is at all levels.
Now, the governing body has stated that while its goal is to make football as inclusive as possible, its policy has always been subject to change in response to shifts in law or science.
Yes, so the FA said it's updated its policy change in light of last month's Supreme Court ruling that legally defines a woman based on biological sex.
Well, joining us now is the chief sports writer at the Daily Telegraph, Oliver Brown, and the Telegraph really has actually been at the forefront of covering this issue. Oliver, was this change always expected after the Supreme Court ruling?
Well, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, we have been at the forefront for some years now. It was, I wouldn't say it was expected, because I really don't sense that the FA fundamentally wanted to do this. They sat back in 2023 as a trans-identifying male was accused of causing a season-ending injury to an opponent. They sat back when women protested fiercely outside Wembley about a teenager being banned for several games for asking an opponent, "Are you a man?" Time and time again, they seemed more interested in acquiescing to the trans lobby than they did in upholding fairness for half the population. So I'd become slightly fatalistic about a lot of this, to be honest, but I'm delighted that they've finally seen sense. This is the national game after all. And I think that Supreme Court verdict a couple of weeks ago ultimately left them with nowhere else to go.
Yeah, so where are we with all this then, Oliver, in the round? So I understand that athletics have already done this, cricket's already done this, rugby's already done this. The Scottish FA as well did this week as well, banning transgender women from the sport. Are there many sports left to go now?
Cricket is the big one, and I'm hearing that there's going to be movement on that very soon. The ECB, the England and Wales Cricket Board, have had a kind of ludicrous two-tier policy for a while now, one that kind of assures fairness at the elite level, but not at the grassroots, where obviously the disparities in power between men and women are most pronounced. Cricket's stance on this has been, well, we can't expect umpires at grassroots level to start doing gender checks, but my response to that would be, well, just have a policy, have a coherent and fair policy first of all. You can worry about enforcement later, but the examples across sport should show you by now that as long as you have a policy, that the other pieces will fall into place. So that's the main one we're waiting for. But I reckon, well, certainly what I'm hearing is that policy could change within the next 24 hours.
So, Oliver, in football, this is all tiers, but in cricket, we've had senior figures in cricket telling your newspaper that legal advice would be made in an attempt to understand how this could affect recreational cricket. So you're saying there's that two-tier approach. Do you think that the football statement today could influence them in some way now as well?
Yes, I mean, what tends to happen with this issue is that everyone waits for somebody else to go over the top. Nobody seems to want to take the moral lead on this. And, the dominoes are falling. I've felt for a long time that sport has been almost blinded by a cult in a way. I mean, it is so preposterous to me that sport should believe in anything like self-ID. I mean, sport is about fairness or it's about nothing at all. And it shouldn't need to be spelt out time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, Oliver, just on that, there are, as you mentioned in your opening answer, there are women out there who've been treated very badly indeed over this issue, for pointing out unfairness, for questioning whether they're playing against a man. Do you think the FA should apologise to some of those women?
Absolutely, I do. I mean, there are several things I'm tired of hearing, one of which is that this debate is so complex. I don't think it's complex at all, and that it's toxic. But the toxicity here has only come from one side. It's come from militant trans activists who have besmirched and impugned the reputation of some very courageous women. I mean, you only have to look in sport at what people like Sharon Davis and Mari Yamauchi have done for years, and what on the legal side and the policy-making side, people like Fiona McKenna and Emma Hilton and Nicola Williams, that they've been at the coalface on this for years now. And so a lot of people will react today to this FA ruling and say, well, obviously this should have happened a long time ago. But so many people wanted to turn away from this issue. So many in the commentariat, so many politicians, so many governing bodies wanted nothing to do with it.
And I guess now they've got to work out what they do with the trans players. I know that they're saying that they're going to contact them and try and find a way for them to continue in the sport, but that will be a tricky one to work out. Will it be the men's football or nothing at all, or will there be special competitions where people can play whatever gender identity they have? It's complex.
Absolutely.
Well, this is a step in favour of women's rights anyway.
Sure. Well, thank you, Oliver Brown, the chief sports writer at the Daily Telegraph, for that. Well, we do have a statement from the FA. They said that as the governing body of the national sport, our role is to make football accessible to as many people as possible, operating within the law and international policy defined by UEFA and FIFA. Our current policy, which allows transgender women to participate in the women's game, was based on this principle and supported by expert legal advice.
They go on. This is a complex subject, and our position has always been that if there was a material change in law, science or the operation of the policy in grassroots football, then we would review it and change it if necessary. The Supreme Court's ruling on the 16th of April means that we will be changing our policy Transgender women will no longer be able to play in women's football in England, and this policy will be implemented from the 1st of June 2025.
And finally, we understand that this will be difficult for people who simply want to play the game they love in the gender by which they identify, and we are contacting the registered transgender women currently playing to explain the changes and how they can continue to stay involved in the game.
It's right. Tricky, that.
Absolutely. Well, now, moving on, because the Met Counter-Terrorism Unit has confirmed that Irish band Kneecap are officially under investigation.
Yes, this, of course, comes following heavy criticism over claims they called for MPs to be killed, amongst other things.
Well, joining us now in the studio is our Home and Security Editor, Mark White. So, Mark, what have we heard from policing today?
Well, this relates to a couple of complaints made to the Metropolitan Police about separate incidents. The first one in November of 2023 at the a venue in Camden, which Kneecap had apparently told its audience that the only good Tory MP is a dead Tory MP, go kill your MP. And then a year later, in November 24 at the O2, another incident in which Kneecap told their audience or professed their support for Hamas, a proscribed terrorist organisation. So Scotland Yard have put out a statement today saying that they have examined both those complaints and the information available, and they say that it does warrant further investigation, and that's why Counter-Terror Command are going to take over this investigation, and there will be a full and proper investigation into what this band have said.
Mark, they have apologised to the families of Katie Amos, who's the daughter of the murdered MP Sir David Amos, and also to the family of Joe Cox, who was murdered in 2016, the former Labour MP. But those apologies haven't necessarily been received as they might have hoped.
Yeah, and to be honest, the apology is not really relevant if a criminal offence is being committed here. And, of course, giving very public declared support for a proscribed terrorist organisation would be a criminal offence, regardless of who you apologise to. And again, potentially inciting the murder of MPs, regardless of who you apologise to, would still be potentially a criminal offence. So that's what Kneecap may be dealing with further down the road. You mentioned Katie Amos there. She has issued a statement this lunchtime in which she says Kneecap's rhetoric is not only abhorrent but poses a direct threat to the safety and well-being of elected officials and the democratic institutions they represent. She goes on to say the glorification and incitement of violence have no place in our society and must be unequivocally condemned. Katie Amos, the daughter of Sir David Amos, who was, of course, murdered by an ISIS-inspired terrorist.
So you've got the alleged incitement of violence against politicians and then alleged support for two prescribed groups. So thank you, Mark White, for bringing us that update and that statement from Katie Amos.
I thought it was interesting, Emily, how they didn't apologise to the families of MPs killed by the Irish Republican terrorists. I thought that was interesting. They only went for those two. Not sure why they chose them to apologise to. Many more MPs, of course, have been killed by terrorists.
Yeah, absolutely right. But in other news, the Metropolitan Police armed officer cleared of murdering Chris Cabba should face a disciplinary hearing for gross misconduct, where he could face the sack for using excessive force. The police watchdog has now decided. And reacting to this news, a colleague of the officer has said public safety will be put at risk because of the decision. And more, high-profile coppers are coming out to say similar, aren't they?
They are. There's been a serious reaction to this today. We've also seen one of Sergeant Blake's colleagues, that is the man involved in the shooting of Chris Cabba, speaking anonymously, saying that this decision will mean fewer firearms officers on the street. So very nervy times for those in frontline policing there. Absolutely. Well, let's get more on this with Harry Miller, former police officer and founder of Fair Cop. Harry, thank you very much indeed. Mark Rowley is before the Board of Policing at the moment, I believe, may well be being asked about this issue. I mean, where do you stand on this? Were you surprised to hear, firstly, that he's going to have to go through this police officer?
Absolutely. We have a double jeopardy situation with policing at the moment. If you're accused of something and it's possibly criminal, you have to go through that. If they fail to get you that way, then they go through professional standards, which is what poor Sergeant Blake is going through right now. And then if they fail to get you on that, they are still using this vetting thing. So if you've even been investigated for something, they can say, well, you've now failed your vetting, and get rid of you that way. There are thousands and thousands of police officers who are being subject to this absolute tyrannical nonsense. And I really hope that Sir Mark Rowley addresses this, because it needs addressing. Now, let's just get the facts on this straight. Sergeant Blake was put in a very, very difficult situation. He didn't have the luxury of going away and thinking about it for a long, long time. Chris Cabot was in a vehicle. He was using that vehicle as a dangerous, offensive weapon. Now, back in January, I was run over by a car going very, very slowly. And I tell you now, it hurts like hell. So when somebody is prepared to use a vehicle as a weapon, then it becomes a lethal weapon. So it's entirely wrong to say that Chris Cabot was not armed, that he didn't have a lethal weapon. He was driving a lethal weapon. And so Sergeant Blake had to make the decision in a split second. Should I shoot or should I not shoot? And he chose to shoot. Interestingly, colleagues have come forward who were with him on the day and said they were within a hair's breadth of pulling the trigger themselves. He's been through the courts. A jury has decided that his intentions were entirely honourable and noble, and therefore I think the professional standards have no business whatsoever putting this poor man, who is doing a duty on behalf of all of us, through an intolerable situation. It has to stop. It has to stop now.
And Harry, we're hearing a lot about how public safety is put at risk when there are fewer firearms officers, but there's also quite a significant risk also to the family members of these police officers, because as we saw with the case of Sergeant Blake, he was named, and so he became essentially a target, as did his family.
No, that's absolutely right, and that's why in Northern Ireland, for instance, if you're an officer or you're a former officer of the police service in Northern Ireland, you're still allowed to carry a firearm, a sidearm with you, even in retirement, because once you've been named, once people recognise you, you are a target. So the Met Police have done this to this good sergeant. They say that they understand how awful it is for him. Well, they do understand it. They simply don't care. That's the problem. And I don't know who it is they're trying to impress, because if they're trying to instill confidence in the public, well, they are massively, massively failing in that, because all normal people look and go, what the hell is going on? If they're trying to install confidence in the police, they're failing, because firearms officers and other officers will be thinking, I don't want to be put in this situation. What's the alternative? Do we want a situation where a police officer is so concerned about making the wrong decision, or about making the right decision, but it being framed as the wrong decision, that they refuse to pull the trigger?
Well, absolutely. It does
we don't
feel
want that situation.
Yeah, it does feel as though sometimes that we back the wrong people in this country and make life very difficult for people who are trying to do an honest day's work. Harry, thank you very much indeed. And also that difference between how we all in the media and everywhere else weren't allowed to talk about Chris Cabot's background, the allegations against him, criminal record, etc., but then the police officer's name was allowed out there. But there you go, Harry Miller that was.
I remember reporting from that trial, and the decision to release the information about Chris Cabot being a gangster, Harry was able to be released the next day. So we had a full evening, everyone saying this was a
crazy,
horrendous
wasn't it?
Misjustice, and then bang, next day, oh, we regret to announce he was a gangster.
Yeah, lovely guy. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got lots more coming off today's show. Yes, if you haven't noticed, it's an absolute scorcher out there today. So we decided to send our reporters out with their sun cream, their hats, their sunglasses, out into the sun to see what's going on.
Yes, we'll be chatting to them shortly. Hope they are enjoying the sun.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Sunday with Michael Portillo from 11, only on GB News.
The Surrey Hills International Music Festival provides emerging artists with an opportunity to perform before audiences. It also champions accessibility and music education for primary school children. With me now to preview what audiences will hear is the chair of Surrey Hills International Music Festival, Julia Pearson. Julia, lovely to see you. Thank you for coming on GB News.
Thank you, Michael.
We're talking about a festival that takes place in May.
We are indeed, every May.
And Surrey Hills, what are the towns that are involved?
The Surrey Hills, in fact, occupies fully a quarter of the county, a quarter of Surrey. And it follows the chalk ridge from Farnham, above Guildford, Dorking, and on to Oxted. And the venues that we use are principally around the Guildford, Dorking areas of the Surrey Hills.
Are they, what, churches or concert halls or a bit of everything?
A little bit of everything, depending on the nature of the performers and what their needs are. So, for example, on the 6th of May, which is our opening concert, we have Betchworth Church, which is famous for 4 weddings and a funeral. So St Michael's Betchworth is the most beautiful church. That will be a performance space for the Hoodie Menuhin School blistering students. We will also be using the West Horsley Place Stone Hall, which famously was inherited by Bamber Gascoigne,
Yes.
and is an Elizabethan and Tudor building. And that opening concert will be with the London Consortium, who will be playing Elizabethan music from both the Elizabeth I and the period of Elizabeth II.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
We're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. 12:27 is the time, and yes, it is a real scorcher out there today. I can't quite tell down here, but apparently it is.
Well, the start of May has brought the hottest day of the year, with temperatures reaching highs of 30 degrees Celsius. Could this be a sign of a long summer?
I do hope so. Well, joining us from a glorious Hyde Park is GB News reporter Doogie Beattie. Doogie, you've been on your travels, meeting us in central London. What's it like out there? Are people enjoying basking in the sunshine?
It's absolutely fabulous, Emily. To be honest about it, I have known that Hyde Park existed. I've been in it once or twice. But on a day like this, it really encourages you to come back. I mean, the park is full of tourists, locals alike. I mean, lunchtime is just now starting in the offices. People are starting to come out and throw their blankets down and spend their lunch hour here on the grass. On other parts of the park, there is a huge tractor with full flotation tyres on it, with a slurry tank on the back of it, full of water, not slurry obviously, and watering the grass because it has been a really dry spell. Now, temperatures are getting up towards the 30s. It's expected to get there by about 4 or 5 o'clock this afternoon. I'm really not surprised, but it has been a real family occasion here, and I caught up with a few of the people earlier on.
Oh, it's perfect. It's better than in Spain. Yes, it's really.
The weather is very good. I like it, but it's a little bit too warm, for my personal opinion.
It's spectacular. It's wonderful. We didn't expect it to be quite so nice.
I'm used to warm, but I didn't pack for warm. So I'm a little hot.
Today's amazing, but usually it's not like this, right?
So we are lucky.
Well, there you have it. Germans, Californians, Spanish, Portuguese, all claiming that the weather's hotter here. The poor girl from California, of course, she packed for cold weather and is now having a bit of a time coping with the warm weather in her current dress. But fantastic day, really, really good. And anybody that's out in the sun, we don't want to preach at you, of course, about putting sunblock on, etc. And of course with hay fever, because of course pollen count is extremely high, but it is glorious to see this type of weather.
Can tell you're out on the land, Doogie, quite a bit, because you've already got a stunning suntan while I'm looking pastier than ever.
Yeah, we're hiding in air conditioning and our man on the ground,
Thanks,
Doogie
Doogie.
BT, looking lovely and tanned. Lucky him.
You know, those tourists are very lucky. I always feel almost ashamed or some sense of failure when I see tourists here and it's raining, windy, particularly in the summer.
They knew what they
Today
were
I'd be
getting
like,
involved
oh,
with.
yes, lucky you tourists.
London in the
This
summer.
is what it's always like.
It's a totally different town when it's like this. It really is. Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News, and there's lots more coming up on today's show.
Yes, we're going to bring you this extraordinary story. Yes, an Australian woman accused of killing her in-laws with a poisonous beef Wellington. She insists the tragedy was a terrible accident, but was it?
That's to come after the headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Charlie, thank you very much. The top stories this hour. Downing Street says biology matters in women's sport following the Football Association's announcement that transgender women will no longer be allowed to play in women's football from June the 1st this year. English football's governing body amended its rules last month, applying stricter eligibility criteria for trans women to continue playing in women's football. Following the UK Supreme Court's ruling that the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex, the FA has scrapped that policy and banned trans women from participating in women's football. It follows a similar move by the Scottish FA this week after the UK Supreme Court ruling on the legal definition of a woman. The body of a teenager has been recovered from a lake in Nottinghamshire after reports of a 16-year-old boy getting into difficulty while swimming. A police underwater search team and the fire service also responded, finding the boy's body just before 8 o'clock last night. Police confirmed the boy's death was not being treated as suspicious. It comes as parts of the UK are set to experience the hottest day of the year so far. Forecasters are warning and predicting temperatures could hit 30 degrees at the earliest point on record. The Met Office is saying if we reach 30 today, it'll be the earliest date in May that the UK has seen 30 since our records began in 1860. The Met Office says temperatures reached 26.7 degrees in Surrey yesterday, making it the warmest day of the year so far. Despite the soaring temperatures, the Met Office has ruled out a heat wave this week. And voters head to the polls today for the country's local elections. The fate of 23 local authorities, 6 mayoral seats and the first by-election of this parliament hangs in the balance. Voting closes at 10 o'clock tonight. Stay with GB News for the latest. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me at 1 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of the markets. The pound buying you $1.3337 and €1.1770. The price of gold is £2,419.20 per ounce, and the FTSE 100 is at 8,500 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another dry and sunny one for most of us today. Hot in the south, hotter than the last few days, but cooler in the north as a cold front starts to move southwards. That contains fresher air, an area of cloud and the chance of a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and southern Scotland. As the afternoon begins, 1 or 2 showers popping up for the far north of England ahead of it as well, perhaps even the odd thunderstorm. Likewise, further south, where we've got strong sunshine and rising temperatures, the chance of a thunderstorm developing in the afternoon, but these will be isolated. For most, it's another sunny day And it's a hot day with temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s, 29 in the afternoon, high somewhere between London and Bristol. But much cooler for Scotland and Northern Ireland, certainly feeling fresher as that Atlantic air moves in, bringing a few showers for northwest Scotland, cloudier skies as well, but some sunshine reappearing through the central belt and into parts of Northern Ireland late afternoon and through the evening. Showers trickling their way through northern England and the odd shower continuing through parts of Wales and central England, perhaps even a thunderstorm rumbling into the evening. But for many across England and Wales, it is dry, and it's going to be a very warm night in the south once again because the cold front really stalls across central parts of the country, again bringing a few showers with it. But it's going to be a much cooler night for northern parts of the country, perhaps a grass frost for some sheltered parts of England, northern England that is, and parts of Scotland. Further south, a muggy night to come. Temperatures in the mid-teens in places, and a fine start to the day on Friday. Plenty of sunshine, any showers first thing tending to ease away. And then, well, temperatures are lowering, but we keep the very warm air in the far south, 27 or 26 degrees. Further north, feeling much fresher, but still plenty of fine weather.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
This is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. In Leeds, roadworks close an M1 northbound entry slip lane at junction 42. In Knowsley, all M62 westbound exit slip lanes at junction 6 are closed for emergency repairs. In Staffordshire, the M54 has one lane closed westbound between the M6 and junction 1 for horticultural works. Northamptonshire's M1 southbound between junctions 18 and 16 has 3 lanes closed. Emergency repairs on the M4 eastbound in Wiltshire are between junctions 17 and 16. In Wokingham, roadworks on the M4 westbound between junctions 10 and 11 have closed 3 lanes. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Welcome back, it's 12:36 and you're watching Good Afternoon Britain. Now, an Australian woman accused of killing her in-laws with a poisonous beef Wellington has admitted to picking wild mushrooms, but insists that the tragedy was just a terrible accident.
Yes, this is a wild story. Erin Patterson, who's pleaded not guilty to murdering her relatives, maintains that she didn't intend to cause anyone any harm that day, but prosecutors say she served the meal but ate from a separate, smaller and differently coloured plate than her 4 guests, which does appear to be quite suspicious.
Indeed it does. Well, joining us now is our media commentator Adrian Falk, live from Sydney. Adrian, why has this trial been so anticipated and caught the attention of audiences around the world?
Thanks so much for having me. And yes, 2 years on since this deadly Sunday lunch, it really is taken the world by storm. Australia, we're known for our Aussie meat pies, and now, unfortunately, it's the infamous beef Wellingtons that were served up on that Sunday lunch. I mean, there's so many twists and turns in this case, and it started with the separate plate, as you mentioned. Then there was the dehydrator for the mushrooms that Erin, the alleged accused, had always said that she never even owned a dehydrator. Yet on day 3 of today's case, it was presented the CCTV footage and her fingerprints in the tip with her, actually her fingerprint marks on the dehydrator that was found. Then there was the text messages pleading with her husband at the time, Simon, to say, please come for lunch. And when he said no, she said, I've spent a lot of time preparing this and I'm very disappointed. So every day the plot seems to be thickened in this Agatha Christie style alleged murder mystery, really.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite extraordinary, isn't it? A Sunday lunch gone wrong, absolutely. And that's probably why why so many people are interested in this. I mean, Erin Patterson was one of the most searched terms here in the UK this morning, despite so much else going on. People are truly fascinated, presumably because it could happen. You know, you never know, it could happen. You could sit down with your relatives thinking everything's A-OK, and then something awful like this happens. But there seem to be some strange strange family dynamics at play, don't there, Adrian?
There were definitely. I mean, it also dealt with Erin's history of why she wanted to have the lunch. So she was wanting to arrange the lunch because she had told her husband at the time, Simon, that she had cancer. And this was going to be a nice sort of lunch to sort of celebrate, I guess, the family, and because she never knew when she was going to be able to host a Sunday lunch like this again. And she was also concerned about how to approach this this sensitive subject with her children. So that's why she wanted to summons them all together. Yet, today the prosecutor was saying that, in fact, there's actually evidence that she indeed never did have cancer. So why she was using that to get all the family together and have the kids out of the home at the time is, one that we still need to look into.
And Adrian, there was a single survivor from that lunch. The local pastor, Ian Wilkinson, a man of God, avoided being struck down by this beef Wellington. He was in hospital then for weeks of intensive treatment. You imagine that his testimony during these legal proceedings will be absolutely crucial to this case.
Absolutely. Ian's prayers were definitely answered, being a pastor, and I researched that apparently he had a liver transplant. He spent 16 days in a coma, and it just shows you the powerfulness of these death cap mushrooms. And apparently, once cooked, they taste like any other mushroom. In fact, today, Simon mentioned that Erin was allegedly doing taste tests with muffins with her daughters to test different versions of muffins with these alleged mushrooms to see what tastes the best. And Simon mentioned that apparently it was the one that had the mushrooms in did taste the best. So there's so many twists and turns, and who knows what's going to come out next. Also, to mention, there was alleged a large sum of inheritance. So Erin was portrayed to actually be a generous wife. She inherited $2 million just before she got married, and she was giving interest-free loans to Simon's siblings as well. So, not all is painted so dark about Erin before this moment.
That's very curious. Well, what an awful, tragic story, and look forward to seeing what the result of this trial is. Adrian Falk, thank you very much indeed. You're from Sydney, you're a media commentator. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
what an odd tale.
Absolutely, very strange tale. And you're just hearing from Adrian now about the twists and turns. Also, we'll certainly be keeping on top of those. Very interesting case.
I mean, if she is guilty, maybe it's over this money that she gave. I don't know.
Well,
who knows?
Generous and kind, according to some.
Yeah.
Well, if you are in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European destinations. London's great, but where else could you go?
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, the UK has the warm, sunny weather. There's more rain to come in Spain and Portugal. Fine conditions across much of Italy. A few showers across the eastern Mediterranean. Generally dry for the Canaries, but not particularly warm yet. Wet and windy weather sweeping into Portugal and across mainland Spain, although many of the southern costas of Spain dry and sunny. Certainly plenty of sunshine for Italy, Sardinia and Corsica. A few showers over Cyprus and Turkey. Temperatures will be rising in the Canaries over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We've got lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, the King has opened up about his cancer journey in what's being described as his most personal message to date.
And we'll also bring you the latest as it's been revealed that counter-terrorism police will investigate the Irish group Kneecap for allegedly telling crowds to kill your local MP. Don't go anywhere.
Today, voters across England go to the polls. In a series of council elections.
Mayoral elections. And one crucial by-election.
They'll vote on the local issues that matter to them and let the parties know where they stand.
We'll be here throughout the night.
Live around the country.
As the first results come in.
And from 6 a.m. as it all becomes clearer,
we'll be here to discuss what it means for you.
Vote 2025, the people decide, from 11 p.m. tonight.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic fly-past.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day, all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we're in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 12:46, and it's the debate that's been raging all over the internet. It's whether 100 men or a gorilla, well, went into battle. Who would win? The 100 men or the gorilla?
Yeah. Who do you think, Emily? Depends on the man, I suppose.
Well, I think that some men might come up with a clever way to say that they would. I've read strategies online about what you do, you know, distraction technique. Then one man at the end is deemed victorious. Some people go in for sacrifice.
See, I think the gorilla would demolish 99 and leave one to walk away, to tell the others it cannot be done, and to have the prowess of the gorilla's strength.
Now, you
don't
believe you could take on a gorilla on your own, do you?
No, I mean, I think you need to be a bit more scheming and sleuth-like than me. Perhaps it's... I can't think of anyone else who could possibly...
Could it be my usual co-host, Tom Harwood? I'm sure Tom would think that he'd be able to.
What about confident Christies? Could Patrick himself take on 100 Patricks? I mean, 100 Patricks would be a bit useful for the channel. 100 Patricks, he's presenting day and night. So it'd be good if we could have that. I'm not sure about the gorilla, though.
Patrick, if you're watching or listening, would you be able to take on a gorilla? I think he'd try. You know what? I think he'd try.
He definitely would.
He'd walk towards the fire,
I think. Would.
Maybe he'd try and, I don't know, use his words.
I'm slightly concerned that the bosses will be listening to this. I think it's a great idea.
But yeah, this debate, apparently it started on Reddit. Now, that's an online forum, if you don't know, and people basically ask random questions and then everyone on the internet has an opinion. It is usually lots of men discussing these types of things on Reddit, isn't it?
No, there's one. I don't. Doesn't matter how many blokes you've got. I don't think that's going to be the business. That's a slightly more. See, that's an armed gorilla. As a gorilla.
Well, that would be unfair if the gorilla was armed. But I imagine some of these Eubank, he might be able to.
Yeah, I think. Well, senior or junior, they do a job. But
Tyson Fury might be able to take him in the ring.
You're right there. But it is about male confidence. This stuff.
Yes.
It reminds me of that thing. Was could you get a point off Serena Williams in a match when loads of men were like, yeah, absolutely. But again, I think possibly just as difficult as defeating a gorilla.
Well, some men look like gorillas, don't
100
they?
men
you
versus
know?
Serena Williams, I reckon you get a point. But
What was that?
100 men versus Serena Williams in a tennis match. That could
Oh,
probably
because
do the
men
job.
always say that they'd be able to beat this person, this person, this person, yeah. I mean, it is true that men are, you know, better at most sports, but
As an average.
women more than make up for it in other ways.
And thanks to recent changes,
Intellect.
thanks to recent changes in FA, we are certain to know who's playing on teams, men or women. So even if they are better at certain sports, that split is now clear. So you won't have gender mix-up.
But you were pointing out earlier that a certain pond in North London is having a bit of a turf war.
Yes, that's right. The Hampstead Ladies pond has failed to ban trans women. That's the headline in the Telegraph, because they've kept their self-identity policy despite that Supreme Court ruling. I've also seen a few gyms at universities in particular who are still running this policy of whoever you want, regardless of the Supreme Court ruling. Some people still catching up with that one. I mean, there's a great photo in the paper, which is the only boy allowed on the pond, and it's a woman wearing a buoyancy aid. There we go.
Yeah, I'm sure there'll be lots of women who don't approve of such things, but then again, I don't know how many transgender women were going to the Hampstead Ladies Pond anyway, so I don't even know if it was an issue.
I think the Hampstead Ladies Pond is the origin of a significant amounts of the so-called turf resistance, because a lot of influential media types living in that neck of the woods.
True.
And
There
they
are
all,
not.
and they
There
all
are
got
not.
together and they were all sort of, you know.
A lot of feisty women, but then also a lot of woke women as well. Dave says, I'd pay money for Patrick to take on a gorilla. Challenge Patrick. Yes, he did used to do the Challenge Christie's.
There's got to be a limit
He
to
could have
Challenge
done,
Christie's.
you know, a bit of MMA fighting, a bit of loop-the-loop on the old plane.
Yes, it's a
Absolute
shame.
nutter.
It's a shame he moved on from that.
Anyway, get in touch.
Yeah,
Could
please
you
do.
take down a gorilla?
Yes, and we'll move on now, because the King has opened up about his cancer journey in his most personal message to date.
Yeah, he described it as a frightening time for him and his whole family, admitting there have been dark moments since he was first diagnosed in February of last year, just 1 month before the Princess of Wales revealed her own cancer battle.
Now, alongside Queen Camilla, the King held a reception at Buckingham Palace to celebrate the cancer organisations and charities that help save millions of lives.
Well, joining us is former royal correspondent at The Sun, Charles Ray. Charles, a heartfelt message from the King. He has been through a lot when it comes to health. The whole royal family has. We're getting very used to these types of personal statements, though, from the King, aren't we?
Yes, we are, Emily. Good afternoon to both of you. For a start off, I'm so old, Emily, that I come from an age where it was believed that royal aides only ever spoke 2 words in English, which was no comment. So it's absolutely fantastic to see this new openness in the royal family, where they will discuss matters, and we see them doing more normal things. And I think that the fact that the King has opened up about his own cancer treatment, and the very fact that he too was very daunted by the fact he'd been told he'd got cancer, just like everyone else. So it really doesn't matter whether you're blue blood or normal blooded or red blooded or whatever it is. Cancer is a dreadful disease, and it can affect anyone born high or low. And I think his message gives the inspiration to those people who get diagnosed with it. There's at least about 1,000 people a day who get told that they have got some form of cancer.
Charles, the King has been a patron of Macmillan Cancer Support for many years, and he has long training, as it were, in supporting these sorts of charities. What's the significance of bringing so many to Buckingham Palace and that renewed focus?
Well, I think it's twofold, actually, Charlie. It's a thank you to all those cancer charities for the great and fantastic work that they do, not just Macmillan, but all the cancer charities involved. And I think it's to give, inspiration to people that you don't have to suffer this disease alone. There are people out there, there are charities out there that will help you. It's probably one of the few diseases which does get an awful lot of help if you're suffering from this disease. So I think it's a recognition that there are these people out there, and it's to tell people, just normal people, look, just because you get a diagnosis does not mean it's the end of the world.
Yeah.
You can get help.
Absolutely, and it is difficult for some people to open up and even tell their relatives, colleagues, friends when they are diagnosed. Thank you so much, Charles Ray, former royal correspondent at The Sun.
Now, moving on, because this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Breaking news, there is a major fire at St Mary's Hospital in Paddington. We're live just outside in a moment, coming up after this break.
Heavy showers first thing will be followed by a warm, cosy day. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another dry and sunny one for most of us today. Hot in the south, hotter than the last few days, but cooler in the north as a cold front starts to move southwards. That contains fresher air, an area of cloud and the chance of a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and southern Scotland. As the afternoon begins, 1 or 2 showers popping up for the far north of England ahead of it as well, perhaps even the odd thunderstorm. Likewise, further south, where we've got strong sunshine and rising temperatures, the chance of a thunderstorm developing in the afternoon, but these will be isolated. For most, it's another sunny day. And it's a hot day with temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s, 29 in the afternoon, high somewhere between London and Bristol. But much cooler for Scotland and Northern Ireland, certainly feeling fresher as that Atlantic air moves in, bringing a few showers for northwest Scotland, cloudier skies as well, but some sunshine reappearing through the central belt and into parts of Northern Ireland late afternoon and through the evening. Showers trickling their way through northern England and the odd shower continuing through parts of Wales and central England, perhaps even a thunderstorm rumbling into the evening. But for many across England and Wales, it is dry and it's going to be a very warm night in the south once again because the cold front really stalls across central parts of the country, again bringing a few showers with it. But it's going to be a much cooler night for northern parts of the country, perhaps a grass frost for some sheltered parts of England, northern England that is, and parts of Scotland. Further south, a muggy night to come. Temperatures in the mid-teens in places, and a fine start to the day on Friday. Plenty of sunshine, any showers first thing tending to ease away. And then, well, temperatures are lowering, but we keep the very warm air in the far south, 27 or 26 degrees. Further north, feeling much fresher, but still plenty of fine weather.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
A very good morning to you. And if you're planning to visit one of Britain's many beauty spots next bank holiday or Easter weekend, beware of your car.
Yeah, a rising number of tourist attractions are banning coaches and some cars to help ease overcrowding.
We're here to debate if vehicles should be stopped from parking near attractions. Government Relations Manager at the Countryside Alliance, David Bean, and founder of Fair Fuel UK campaign, Howard Cox. Good morning to you both.
David, how much of a problem are tourists when there are too many of them and they bring their great camper vans and they park all their cars in a line so you actually can't see the beauty spot you went to see? How
It
much
can
of a
be a
problem is it?
significant problem in certain areas. I'm in Scotland for the holidays, and particularly in areas such as the Highlands and Islands, there are areas that have very, very badly been affected. Even some camper vans end up getting taken out to certain places on the islands and then just abandoned after a holiday is finished.
Honestly, this is horses for courses, and to be fair, you know, I actually do believe that we need better signage, better planning, and Cameron hit the nail on the head. You can't get to these beauty spots unless you have some sort of transport to get there. And, you know, public transport is woeful across the country in these areas. Obviously, yesterday in the Berlin Gap one, you can't legislate for idiots. It needs better signage, better information, but if you take people away from it, you take income away from the community. You know, I think any organisation that's promoting a beauty spot that's making money out of it should be paying for better signage, better parking facilities, etc. I do not like the idea of cars being, you know, queuing up illegally, you could say. That's ridiculous.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, it's 1 o'clock on Thursday the 1st of May. I'm Charlie Peters.
And I'm Emily Calver.
Now, the FA has announced that transgender women will no longer be able to play in women's football from the 1st of June. It follows that historic Supreme Court ruling on the legal definition of a woman. We'll have the very latest.
We will indeed. Elsewhere, counter-terror police will investigate the Irish hip-hop group Kneecap, who have been heavily criticised for allegedly telling crowds to kill your local MP. Footage also emerged appearing to show a member of the trio shouting "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah."
And Britain braces for the hottest day of the year in what could be the warmest ever start to May ever recorded. We've sent our reporters out and about to soak up the sun.
London is basking in the sunshine. Hyde Park is full. Office workers are now sitting on the grass, and everyone is loving the weather.
Yes, I wonder if there are a few more people working from home, in quotation marks. And we're celebrating the 115-year-old Ethel from Surrey, who's officially become the world's oldest person. Yes, she was born in 1909. She's lived through 2 world wars, 6 British monarchs, and 27 prime ministers. That was just in the last 5 years or so, wasn't it? Anyway, what a woman.
Working from home then, Emily? Not for us, is it really? Always in this lovely studio.
Well, this job you can't really work from home because unless you had your own studio built at home, which some presenters in America and Australia do.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've heard that. A couple GB News reporters may have that as well, but we won't be talking about them or that. Those lucky souls.
So you can have, you know, the whole setup at home. You have guests who appear on Zoom, and it's like you're in the studio.
Yes.
But yes, I mean, day to day, no, you can't really work from home.
No, I have to say, getting into work this morning with all the sun, usually today is heaving. And funnily enough, Emily, it wasn't. Perhaps it's that sizzling sun that they're all grabbing instead of their morning commute. But, well, are you working from home today?
Yeah, well, apparently there is a story in the papers today about how working from home is fueling a rise in secret second jobs. Now, I'm in two minds about this because I think it's potentially a good thing. If you are completing the tasks set by your main employer, then what business is it of theirs if you're doing something else as well on the side?
Would you manage to get a second job while working at GB News, Emily?
Well, obviously, I'm not going to say that on the television when my boss is watching. But I think, you know, if you've got a job doing something and maybe you find it quite easy...
I think...
And you might have time for another thing. I mean, I feel like in this day and age, you need to have a bit of a side hustle, don't you? A lot of people do, anyway.
Well, perhaps. But I think if you're dedicated to your main gig, as it were, your only gig, then you can't really have time to do a second job on the side.
Oh, he's such a suck-up, isn't he?
I know. I believe in working hard and grafting for the offer that you've been given. But am I wrong? Is Emily right? Probably is. Send your views, post your comments, visit gbnews.com/your say. And before we dive into all that, let's have your news headlines with the wonderful Tatiana Sanchez.
Charlie, thank you very much. The top stories. Downing Street says biology matters in women's sport following the Football Association's announcement that transgender women will no longer be allowed to play in women's football from the 1st of June this year. English football's governing body amended its rules last month, applying stricter eligibility criteria for trans women to continue playing in women's football. Following the UK Supreme Court's ruling that the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex, the FA has scrapped that policy and banned trans women from participating in women's football. It follows a similar move by the Scottish FA this week after that court ruling on the legal definition of a woman. The body of a teenager has been recovered from a lake in Nottinghamshire after reports of a 16-year-old boy getting into difficulty while swimming. A police underwater search team and the fire service also responded, finding the boy's body just before 8 o'clock last night. Police confirmed the boy's death was not being treated as suspicious, and it comes as parts of the UK are set to experience the hottest day of the year so far. Forecasters are predicting temperatures could hit 30 degrees at the earliest point on record. The Met Office says if we reach 30 degrees today, it'll be the earliest date in May that the UK has seen 30 since our records began in 1860. The Met Office says temperatures reached 26.7 degrees in Surrey yesterday, making it the warmest day of the year so far. Despite the soaring temperatures, the Met Office has ruled out a heat wave this week. Voters head to the polls today for the country's local elections. The fate of 23 local authorities, 6 mayoral seats and the first by-election of this parliament hangs in the balance. Voting closes at 10 o'clock tonight. Stay with GB News for the latest. Now, an Australian woman accused of killing her in-laws with a poisonous beef Wellington has admitted to picking wild mushrooms but insists the tragedy was a terrible accident. Erin Patterson, who's pleaded not guilty to murdering her relatives, maintains that she didn't intend to cause anyone any harm that day. But prosecutors say she served the meal but ate from a separate, smaller and differently coloured plate than her 4 guests. The UK Foreign Secretary says the UK welcomes the signing of an economic deal between the US and Ukraine as the two countries signed an historic rare minerals deal last night. Late last night, the US Treasury announced a reconstruction investment fund for Ukraine, with the Ukrainian Prime Minister describing it as truly an equal and good international deal. This will allow America to use Ukraine's natural resources, including things like oil and gases. Ukraine's foreign minister says the deal is an important milestone in US partnership, which Sir Keir Starmer has agreed with, according to the Prime Minister's official spokesman. Meanwhile, President Donald Trump has asked for more time on the US economy as it shrank for the first time in 3 years, stoking recession fears. Mr. Trump says the figure was misleading because companies had stockpiled imports ahead of his imposition of tariffs.
But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th. And I think you have to get us a little bit of time to get moving. But this is the Biden economy.
The Metropolitan Police says counter-terrorism police will investigate online videos amid allegations footage of Northern Irish rap trio Kneecap appeared to show its members calling for the death of British MPs and shouting "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah." The force says on the 22nd of April, we were made aware of an online video believed to be from a music event in London in November last year. Following this, we were made aware of a further video believed to be from another music event in London in November 2023. It goes on to say that both videos were referred to the Counter-Terrorism Internet Referral Unit for assessment by specialist officers who have determined there are grounds for further investigation into potential offences linked to both videos. And His Majesty the King has reflected on his experiences with cancer as he hosted representatives from community-based cancer organisations and initiatives at Buckingham Palace last night. The King, alongside Queen Camilla, thanked those who support cancer patients and their loved ones, praising the profound impact of human connection offered by those working in cancer care. His Majesty said each new cancer diagnosis will be a daunting and at times frightening experience for those individuals and their loved ones. He went on to quote the late Dame Deborah James, who encouraged everyone to always have rebellious hope. And those are the latest GB News headlines for now. More from me at 1:30.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 8 minutes past 1. Now, the FA has announced that transgender women will no longer be able to play in women's football from June the 1st this year.
Yes, the governing body has stated that while its goal is to make football as inclusive as possible, its policy has always been subject to change in response to shifts in law or science.
Now, the FA has said that its updated policy has come in change from last month's Supreme Court ruling that legally defines women based on biological sex.
OK, well, joining us now is football writer Harry Harris. Harry, how much of this is to do with the Supreme Court ruling, then, or was the wind moving in this direction for many a reason?
No, I think it's all to do with the court ruling, the Supreme Court ruling. The FA had reviewed their rules and had rewritten them, and it was totally convoluted. No one would really understand it. It's typical of football. You know, we have it with financial fair play at the Premier League. You really need to look at the people who are running the game and these convoluted rules. But clearly, out of the decision by the Supreme Court, the FA had no choice. It's a sensible, logical, and only outcome they could have come to. So really, you have to support it. It is the only possibility. And of course, we want it to be inclusive. We want sport to be inclusive. But clearly, there was an unfair advantage for certain women playing in women's football because of the gender change.
And Harry, do you expect that other sports will now follow suit? We've been told, of course, that in cricket there's an issue where in the so-called recreational tiers of the sport, these sorts of limits don't apply, but the ECB has got different stances the higher up you go. Is the FA going to pave the way for other sports now?
I think that's inevitable. I think in every sport the same kind of decision has to come to. There's no other way around it, unless there's an appeal to the Supreme Court in some shape or form. But I doubt if that's going to happen. So, yeah, I think it's just going to be across the board in sport, and clearly that was the only way forward anyway.
And Harry, I mean, they're protecting the women's game, which is fantastic. They've got the small issue of what to do with the few transgender players that there are. They say in their statement that they're going to reach out to them and try and help them play in the sport as much as possible, or in the way that they can. What does that mean, though? I mean, is it going to be the men's team or nothing for those players? Or do you imagine that there'll be some kind of open category where everyone can play whatever gender identity you have? What do you reckon, Harry?
I reckon it's a bit of a Football Association window dressing. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. So basically you think they'll be banned from the sport unless they play in the male team?
Indeed.
OK.
All right. Well, Harry Harris, football writer, thank you very much for joining us on Good Afternoon Britain this afternoon. Oh, it's a strange situation, isn't it? Having to wait for these legal definitions, and suddenly it all makes sense.
I love how they say if the science changes. No, science has changed. But yes, in other news, this is a shocking one. So the Muslim Association of Britain has denied being an extremist organisation, but their former leader, Anas al-Takriti, described the mass slaughter and rape of Israeli citizens on October the 7th as a lie, and the taking of hostages a very important part of any act of resistance.
Or does this sound like the view of a group who say they are not an extremist organisation? Well, joining us now to discuss this is the chairman of the Pickthall House, Mustafa Varsi. Mustafa, what's your reaction when you hear a so-called counter-extremist group like the Muslim Association of Britain being linked to those sorts of remarks?
So first of all, I mean, the overwhelming reaction has to be disappointment. I have to reiterate that Pickthall House condemns both the attacks that happened on October 7th, but also the comments made by the chairman of the Muslim Association of Britain in response. They're entirely reprehensible, and no Muslim organization that's of any serious note can possibly justify taking a stance like this, as evidenced by multiple open letters that have been submitted by faith leaders, by Muslim faith leaders all across the country, condemning both the attacks and attempts to justify them by anybody at all.
I mean, the Muslim Association of Britain has said this man, Anas al-Takriti, does not speak for nor represent the views of the Muslim Association of Britain. But as the Telegraph newspaper reports, on Companies House, he is still listed as a current director of the organisation and also as a person with significant control, although he is not obviously the president anymore of the organisation. I mean, Michael Gove did last year, didn't he, when he was the... what was his position? Sorry.
Michael Gove?
Yes.
He was a community secretary.
Yeah, he was proposing that this group come under the banner of, a new definition of extremist organisations. Now, that didn't come to fruition. But do they need to distance themselves further from this man?
I think it's important that if they are to be seen as a credible source or even a credible representative of the community at large, particularly in these incredibly divisive times, that they take hard and fast steps to be able to distance themselves from these sort of opinions. And these don't just include taking policy, making official statements, but taking policy stances, changing the structure of the organization if need be, in order to better reflect both British values and the values of Muslim Britons in this country, all of whom condemn the attacks and largely want to live peacefully with the country as a whole. It's important, nevertheless, to stop for a moment and zoom out for a second and try and assess, as the people of Britain, where a lot of these views come from. Because after all, this is an incredibly emotive conflict, one that has gripped the attention of the people at large. And so it's worth us taking a moment to stop, pause, and reconsider what exactly is driving a lot of these tensions, particularly insofar as they relate to discord here at home in Britain. One important factor in this, unfortunately, is the fact that we don't have any foreign journalistic media presence on the ground in Gaza. Most of what we have to rely on as far as information and facts are concerned upon which to base our opinions comes either from shaky handheld cam recordings from people on the ground that are surreptitiously uploaded to the internet, or from Israeli official statements, many of which have later on been discredited. For example, the 40 beheaded babies was the idea of the 40 beheaded babies or babies being put in ovens was a statement that was put out by the Israeli Defense Force shortly after the attacks and later on discredited by Haaretz, an Israeli newspaper, and then Al Jazeera after performing a forensic analysis.
Saying it's Israel's fault that there are people in this country who support Hamas or who deny what happened on October the 7th. I'm not quite sure what you're saying, because there has been polling that's come out among British Muslims that has unfortunately shown that there is a level of support for Hamas in this country.
And Mustafa, only 25% of British Muslims believe that Hamas terrorists committed murder and rape during the October 7 attacks.
Right. So not at all. I'm not making a statement quite so blanket as it is Israel's fault. Rather, what I'm saying is that it is important as Britain to assert that we must maintain diligence and we must maintain fidelity to the facts on the ground, and that in the absence of facts, in the absence of good information, what tends to happen is people of all sorts of flavors tend to instrumentalize or weaponize people's confusion and doubt, and then go on and say completely insane and crazy things, and often get airtime and press for it, and even have people rally around them. An example of which would be this statement from the ex-head of the MAB. If we did, in fact, have better facts on the ground, if we knew better what was happening, you wouldn't see the scale of denialism take place on each side of the aisle. And there's been a lot of misinformation that has resulted in so much of this tension and conflict. Another example, I suppose, was a statement put out by Elon Levy, the former spokesperson for the Israeli government, who stated that aid trucks in Egypt were being blocked from being let into Gaza by the UN, that the UN was the source of the holdup. Alicia Kearns then disputed this and asked for evidence. When evidence was not provided, Levi was subsequently sacked from his job. This again shows you that it's important for us, like Alicia Kearns did, to be patient, to ask for evidence, to hear claims reasonably before forming policy opinions, and that this will have repercussions. This will have downstream repercussions, both for the extent.
There's a lot of misinformation, and there's a lot of people saying
these views are given credibility or not.
Yeah, Mustafa, just lastly, do you think this Muslim Association of Britain Well, do you think it should be running freely and openly in this country if there's someone who's been the president and is still a director saying such things and saying, oh, taking hostages is just an important thing that has to be done for types of resistance, or it's an important part of resistance, I believe is what he said?
I think all I can say is I'm incredibly disappointed. I'm incredibly disappointed that there exist people with platforms that abuse these platforms in order to put out views that can do nothing other than further divide the community here at home and cause tensions
but you wouldn't want to see it
between people who otherwise want to live harmonious lives in Britain.
You wouldn't want to see it banned, or
no, I certainly wouldn't. No, I certainly wouldn't. Whether or not it's banned is a question. I mean, whether or not it's banned is really a question for the government to decide whether or not it falls in line with its general view of counterterror policy. As it stands, I do believe that people should be allowed to say what they believe, so long as they haven't openly called for violence. Obviously, the sort of statements that have been put out are incredibly odious and condemnable, and I don't think there's any way anybody could possibly justify them.
Sure. Mustafa Vazi from Picktall House, thank you so much. Well, as we heard during his discussion there, a spokesman for the Muslim Association of Britain has said that Mr. Al-Tikriti does not speak for the MAB, and should you have any questions regarding his views or comments, they say please direct them to him.
OK, well, it is, drum roll, time for the Great British Giveaway, and it's our biggest prize to date, your chance to enjoy as many getaways as you like in your very own 4-berth motorhome worth over £67,000, and I think there's a 5k cash as well.
Oh, what a treat. Here's all the details.
You could be spending your summer in style on the road in this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome, courtesy of Marquis Leisure. Imagine the fun you could have in this luxurious home from home worth over £67,000. It sleeps 4, comes with integrated kitchen and bathroom spaces, and comfortably has space for all the family. And if that wasn't enough, we'll also give you £5,000 in tax-free cash to make your next getaway a great one. It's our biggest prize package ever, and it could be all yours. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News with Charlie and Emily, and there's lots more coming up on today's show. Is nanny shaming out of order? This comes as the so-called working mum, Meghan Markle, reveals that she's had one for years. We're going to be debating that just after this break.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk, and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic fly past.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
The royal family is an enduring symbol of tradition, unity and pride for Britain. At GB News, we celebrate what makes this country great. In our new royal newsletter series, you can join me, Cameron Walker, for Inside the Palace, an exclusive look every week that takes you beyond the gates and brings you the very latest from those at the heart of the monarchy. Never miss a royal moment again. Sign up now. Go to gbnews.com/royal newsletter and get the latest straight to your inbox.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
No matter the state it's in, this is our nation. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for a genuine, honest discussion on where we have been, where we are going, and where we are with the people who set the direction. That's State of the Nation every Monday and Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/your say. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 1:24 and it's hot outside.
It's a real scorcher, you could say, Emily, because the start of May has brought the hottest day of the year, with temperatures reaching highs of 30 degrees Celsius.
That is pretty hot for the 1st of May, to be fair. Could it be a sign of a long summer, or is it a one-hit wonder?
Well, let's find out with the one and only Dougie Beattie. He's live in Hyde Park for us, and Ben Leo, who's in Brighton Beach. What a treat.
Ben, stop scoffing your ice cream.
Sorry, it's almost melted. I've been waiting so long to speak to you guys, but it's just about there. What a beautiful sight. I don't think there's anywhere better in the UK than Brighton Beach, or indeed the Sussex coastline, when it's like this. Unfortunately, it's not as hot as London. I think it's about 28 degrees in London. Here, though, pretty balmy still, 22 degrees. Feels a lot hotter as well. The sea is glistening behind me. There's jet skis out, there's speedboats. And if you just spin around here, cameraman, lots of people enjoying basketball on the seafront, music blaring, you probably can't hear it. And just over there in the distance, there's some volleyball as well. If you're lucky later on, guys, if I keep getting as burnt as I am now, and the G&Ts keep flowing, I may swim in the sea. And actually, it's Bring Your Child to Work Day. Where is he? Come with me this way. Follow, quick. Instead of paying £1 million to send my child to nursery today, I thought, why not bring Zach to the seaside with me to report? Here he is, Zachy boy. Come and say hello. 3, 2, 1. Oh, Charlie, this is...
hello, Zach.
This is Zachy. Say hello, Zach. You want to say hello to Grandad?
Oh, what a sweetheart.
What about Emily?
Zach, Leo.
Oh, you're shy. You're shy. Good boy. Ice cream? Ice cream? Good boy. OK. Right, to top you off, guys, I'll see if I can hit a three-pointer for telly. Here we go. This is what I'll be doing all day in between hits. Ready? Live TV. Here we go. So close. Next time, guys. Okay. Next time I'll hit it.
Next time. It truly is a family day out. We are a family here at GB News.
Ben's always doing sport with his kids. You should get him on Instagram, guys. He's constantly putting his children through some sort of tennis trials.
Yes,
well,
he is.
Dougie Beattie, what sport can you bring us from Hyde Park?
He was in a pedalo earlier, Dougie was.
Honestly, I was out in a pedalo earlier on. I've been trying to get an ice cream for the last hour and a half, but the queues are pretty big down there. No ice cream for me. I'll get one before the end. Andy's talking about G&Ts. I thought I got the good straw here. Obviously not, but Hyde Park is beautiful. Absolutely stunning. Lunchtime, people are now lying on the grass everywhere. Courting couples office workers. Yeah, it's all going on here. And of course, locals out. But of course, there's also tourists out. And earlier on, I spoke to a few of them.
Oh, it's perfect. It's better than in Spain. Yes, it's really.
The weather is very good. I like it, but it's a little bit too warm, for my personal opinion.
It's spectacular. It's wonderful. We didn't expect it to be quite so nice.
I'm used to warm, but I didn't pack for warm. So I'm a little hot.
Today's amazing, but usually it's not like this, right?
So we are lucky.
Yeah.
Fantastic to hear from the tourists who are clearly, well, surprised by the weather. Judy Beattie and Ben Leo, thank you very much indeed from Brighton and Central London.
Ben, he's still jostling with that basketball. He's so ready to go again. Ben, go one more shot for us, mate, please, if you don't mind, Ben.
Come on, let's go. One more.
This is the moment. Poor Doogie just standing there.
Oh! Third time lucky, perhaps.
Time.
Right.
Oh, he got it.
Oh, he got it. Yeah.
The guy next to him did.
Yes. Yeah. There we go. Finally. Jeez.
We'll take that. We'll take that. Well done, gents.
Okay,
enjoy
bye,
the sun.
guys. Thank you very much.
See you soon. Hope Doogie gets his G&T and Ben gets a few more of those shots.
Well, gear change. She always said juggling work and motherhood is a challenge, but now Meghan Markle has revealed that she's had a nanny for years.
So, if you've got full-time help, should you still get sympathy for being an overwhelmed working mum, or is nanny shaming out of order?
Well, should we pose that question to journalist and mother Julie Cook, who says you should not be shamed if you have a nanny, and the senior academic and author Dr. Lisa McKenzie, who says, yes, why not? Let's have a bit of shaming. OK, Lisa, go on. Why should we shame women who have help, let's say?
Just because I don't think it's in the spirit of solidarity for women if you as a woman who are a high-earning woman then employ working-class women on extremely low pay to look after your children, and then, like Meghan Markle, sort of complaining about the stresses of motherhood, and or as sometimes she does as well, talks about her perfect parenting. And you do find this a lot with these sort of middle-class sort of women who have got all the help. They've got gardeners, they've got nannies, they've got cooks, they've got dog walkers, and then they start to write or say things about being the perfect parent. Yeah, I'm not having it.
Well, Julie, obviously you take the other stance here. It's legitimate, is it not, to take on a nanny if you're trying to do several things at once, trying to be a mother and have a career?
Yes, I mean, citing Meghan Markle as the example is not best for me, because I personally find her very annoying, and I think she shouldn't, be saying she's the perfect mother and a working mother when she sort of does neither. She has a nanny and she doesn't work and doesn't seem to look after her children very much. But on the wider perspective of women in general, I think there are lots of working mums. In my own family, there is somebody, for example, not myself, but somebody who does 15, 16-hour days and has to have a nanny for her child. And that is just the necessity. Otherwise, she would not be able to work and earn and pay her mortgage. So I think we need to give women a bit of slack, just as our other guest said. Yeah, we do need to give them slack, but also working women. We want women to be 50% of the workforce. Mortgages are based on 50% of women. Then we have to cut them slack if they get a bit of help.
Yeah, Lisa, it's not always a low-paid job, actually, being a nanny. There's the northern nannies, is it? The ones who go through this rigorous training process. They get a uniform at the end of it, and it's one of those jobs that some women really aspire towards, Lisa. So you shouldn't be shaming this job.
No, I mean, I agree that that some nannying is a professional job. I'm sure the royal family have professional nannies. But when I've walked down the streets of Chelsea or around Westminster, and I've seen that you very often see nannies from the Far East, and they're taking small white children around. Now, why is it that women, that sort of very wealthy women, are employing, women from the Far East to be their nannies? It's usually about cost, isn't it? And when those women are here looking after other women's children, they're usually sending that money back to their own children who's being looked after by their parents. So for me, the whole structure of this is it's not very nice for women, to do this. I accept that sometimes some nannies are professional, but I know most of the time the nannies that we see around London, you know, they're being paid very little.
Yeah, it's low wages. Lisa, do you think that? Well, I suppose on the nanny issue, do you think that sometimes mothers are, well, perhaps they should spend more time with their children than their career, and that they wouldn't need a nanny if perhaps they prioritise the children, or is that far too judgmental in this day and age?
I think you know, motherhood is very difficult. You know, I worked all the way through when my son was growing up, worked from him being, you know, 6 weeks old right through. It's very difficult, and my love and support goes out to all mothers. But what I'm saying is, don't exploit other women, you know, so you can actually go out and get a great career. You know, some of us who can't afford a nanny, you know, we're doing it all.
Oh, Julie, we're assuming here, are we not, that every mother who has a nanny looking after their children is working. Some, who you say should not be shamed, they're definitely doing that just to maybe have a bit of time of Pilates or going shopping with their friends.
Well, yeah, that's when I think, you know, we can draw the line and say, do you really need a nanny? You know, you're going to get your nails done, as you say, you're going to Pilates, you're going to yoga, you're going for a coffee. That is where I think you don't need one, and I think, yeah, that's a different kettle of fish. But I think if you are a working mum, again, not Meghan Markle, a normal working mum...
She sells jam, don't you know, Julie?
Well, yeah, she makes jam, of course.
Julie, we are going to have to leave it there because we've got to go to the White House. But thank you very much, Lisa McKenzie and Julie Cook there. Yes, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. We're going to be live in the White House as Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt speaks to journalists. There she is, live.
Yeah, getting ready, and we're coming to that right after our headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Definitely not there.
Emily, Charlie, thank you very much. Well, the Met Office has confirmed today is the warmest start to May on record in the UK. That's after a temperature of 28 degrees was recorded at Kew Gardens in southwest London. That means it's the earliest date in May that the UK has seen, almost 30 degrees since our records began in 1860. Despite the soaring temperatures, the Met Office has ruled out a heat wave this week. The body of a teenager has been recovered from a lake in Nottinghamshire after reports of a 16-year-old boy getting into difficulty while swimming. A police underwater search team and the fire service also responded, finding the boy's body just before 8 o'clock last night. Police confirmed the boy's death was not being treated as suspicious. It comes, of course, as parts of the UK are experiencing the hottest day of the year so far. Downing Street says biology matters in women's sport following the Football Association's announcement that transgender women will no longer be allowed to play in women's football from the 1st of June this year. English football's governing body amended its rules last month, applying stricter eligibility criteria for trans women to continue playing in women's football. Following the UK Supreme Court's ruling that the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex, the FA has scrapped that policy and banned trans women from participating in women's football. Follows a similar move by the Scottish FA this week. Voters head to the polls today for the country's local elections. The fate of 23 local authorities, 6 mayoral seats and the first by-election of this parliament hangs in the balance. Voting closes at 10 o'clock tonight. Stay with GB News for the latest. Those are the latest headlines for now. More from me at 2 o'clock.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Here's a quick snapshot of today's markets. The pound buying you $1.3319 and €1.1772. The price of gold, £2,406.82 per ounce. And the FTSE 100's at 8,488 points.
My Claim Group sponsors the GB News Finance Report.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another dry and sunny one for most of us today. Hot in the south, hotter than the last few days, but cooler in the north as a cold front starts to move southwards. That contains fresher air, an area of cloud and the chance of a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and southern Scotland as the afternoon begins. 1 or 2 showers popping up for the far north of England ahead of it as well. Perhaps even the odd thunderstorm. Likewise, further south, where we've got strong sunshine and rising temperatures, the chance of a thunderstorm developing in the afternoon. But these will be isolated. For most, it's another sunny day. And it's a hot day with temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s, 29 in the afternoon high, somewhere between London and Bristol. But much cooler for Scotland and Northern Ireland, certainly feeling fresher as that Atlantic air moves in, bringing a few showers for northwest Scotland, cloudier skies as well, but some sunshine reappearing through the central belt and into parts of Northern Ireland late afternoon and through the evening. Showers trickling their way through northern England and the odd shower continuing through parts of Wales and central England, perhaps even a thunderstorm rumbling into the evening. But for many across England and Wales, it is dry. And it's going to be a very warm night in the south once again because the cold front really stalls across central parts of the country, again bringing a few showers with it. But it's going to be a much cooler night for northern parts of the country, perhaps a grass frost for some sheltered parts of England, northern England that is, and parts of Scotland. Further south, a muggy night to come. Temperatures in the mid-teens in places, and a fine start to the day on Friday. Plenty of sunshine, any showers first thing tending to ease away. And then, well, temperatures are lowering, but we keep the very warm air in the far south, 27 or 26 degrees. Further north, feeling much fresher, but still plenty of fine weather.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. Drivers on the M4 between Pilning and Rogier should be aware of diversions due to the Prince of Wales bridge closure. In Kent, all lanes of the M20 westbound are shut between junction 12 and 11 due to a vehicle fire, causing delays. Those crossing the A9 Dornoch Bridge should be cautious of high winds. Meanwhile, an accident on the M1 southbound in Barnsley between junction 37 and 36 has led to lane closures, ongoing into 14:15 today. In Warrington, on the M62 westbound, a vehicle receiving a tyre change has closed one lane. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 1:40 and we are gearing up to the 80th anniversary of VE Day. We're going to be around the country, aren't we, Charlie?
We are. This channel, as ever, as you'd expect, would be covering every corner of the commemoration.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
It's going to be immense. And the International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln is also gearing up. It's unveiled a Lancaster bomber made from more than 20,000 poppies.
Yes, it took almost 2 years to construct. The display commemorates all those involved in the war effort from Britain and across the Commonwealth.
Well, our wonderful reporter Jack Carson has the story.
It's a Lancaster, the mightiest aerial engine of destruction ever conceived and built.
It's one of the most recognisable sights of British aviation, and at the International Bomber Command Centre in Lincoln, the Avro Lancaster has been memorialised ahead of the 80th anniversary of VE Day. More than 22,000 handmade ceramic poppies have been planted to create the shape of the iconic plane, synonymous with Bomber County, and to represent all of those who are part of the war effort. Nikki Vanderdrift is the chief executive of the centre.
It's been an enormous amount of work. There's a lot of passion has gone into this, a lot of planning, but also excitement. I can't wait to see people's reactions to it. Whilst it's been in progress, visitors' comments have been amazing. A lot of them very emotional, a lot of them remembering individuals. For me, this is the individual story singing together in an orchestra of voices.
Also sculpted for the anniversaries this year are 617 poppies placed in the Spire Memorial to remember 617 Squadron, the Dambusters. Chairman of the IBCC Air Chief Marshal Sir Michael Graydon says the display is a chance to remember and educate the younger generation.
It traces the history of war and the tragedy of war, but at the same time the importance of remembrance. So it's something that I think we've increasingly appreciated the need for education. There's perhaps not enough of it in schools, and schools are now coming to us, so we're delighted to see them here.
In a special service, members of the UK, US, Canadian, Australian and New Zealand forces laid the final poppies in place before it was officially unveiled.
80 years on, we remember the courage, the loss, the liberation.
Memories of VE Day and the contributions from across the Commonwealth wrap around the rest of the display. Deputy Lieutenant for Lincolnshire and co-lead for VE80 Lincoln, Sue Liebird MBE, describes the global effort of the Allied forces.
So we had countries from around the world, from Canada, from New Zealand, from India, from the Caribbean, from South Africa, from Africa. For me, the uniqueness of every single poppy is representative of the uniqueness of the huge collaboration and coalition that came together for us to have victory in Europe 80 years ago.
With each poppy able to be bought to raise money for charity, this display hopes to create a lasting legacy, remembering Bomber Command and beyond. Jack Carson, GB News, Lincoln.
Well,
Lovely
there you
stuff.
go.
Wonderful from Jack Carson. I was in RAF Brize Norton yesterday, speaking to a 99-year-old veteran, Dennis Bishop. He'll be flying the flag of the RAF on Monday ahead of VE Day. He was celebrating there.
Stuff.
Plenty of.
I think I'm going to be at a street party somewhere in the country. Won't reveal where.
Can't give it away.
With Patrick, we're going to have a great time, and Tom, my usual co-presenter, is going to be somewhere else.
Somewhere else. We're all going to be somewhere.
Someone else is going to be somewhere else.
Celebrating.
Well, there's celebrations up and down the country, aren't there? Commemorations.
All over the place.
Yes.
And I hope you'll be looking to stay in Britain for VE Day. But if you're looking a little bit further ahead and you want to know about the holiday sun, here is the forecast for some of the top European destinations.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries, all sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, the UK has the warm, sunny weather. There's more rain to come in Spain and Portugal. Fine conditions across much of Italy. A few showers across the eastern Mediterranean. Generally dry for the Canaries, but not particularly warm yet. Wet and windy weather sweeping into Portugal and across mainland Spain, although many of the southern costas of Spain dry and sunny. Certainly plenty of sunshine for Italy, Sardinia and Corsica. A few showers over Cyprus and Turkey. Temperatures will be rising in the Canaries over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain. We've got lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, we're going to be live in the White House as the Press Secretary, Caroline Leavitt, speaks to journalists.
It comes as Donald Trump minerals deal seems to now blame Putin for the Ukraine invasion. We've got all the latest lines from Washington coming up right after this break.
Today, voters across England go to the polls.
In a series of council elections.
Mayoral elections. And one crucial by-election.
They'll vote on the local issues that matter to them and let the parties know where they stand.
We'll be here throughout the night.
Live around the country.
As the first results come in.
And from 6 a.m, as it all becomes clearer, we'll be here to discuss what it means for you.
Vote 2025, the people decide, from 11 p.m. tonight.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
It is cruel because I think children are only your children for 16 years, 18 years, right? And then they go and they have to do all this stuff for themselves. I think while they're young, their main priorities should be their education, coming in, doing their homework, getting to bed, getting enough sleep. My children, for example, are 11 and 16, so one's doing his GCSEs, the other still randomly has a ton of homework, even at 11. By the time they've come in and done their homework, they're exhausted and they go to bed. I just don't think it is my job as a parent to tell them to then go and mop the floor or hoover their bedrooms. Their main focus is their education at this age.
Yeah. You made my blood run cold there talking about homework, because I'm not a believer in homework. I think school is where you do work and then you come home, and home is where you can do anything else that you want to do, but I just think it's just all too much.
I think this is a tricky one because we're not talking about Victorian Britain or sending children up chimneys. We're talking making your bed, tidying your room. I think it's a great help for people to do chores around the house. There's been several studies where they've seen that it's had beneficial well-being for children. And I think it's just about learning about time management, confidence, resilience. These are just basic life skills. So many people these days, teenagers, grow up and they don't have them, and then they're going off to university or whatever. I saw a really funny video actually of a mum who couldn't get her child to clean up, so she got black rice, sprinkled it around the room and told him it was mouse droppings. Now, I don't know if we need to go that far, but I do think it's good for children as a whole.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Headliners on GB News 11 p.m. every night. It's got 3 top comedians going through the next day's newspapers so you don't have to read them, which is great.
That's a good point. He's lying. I mean, maybe he's not lying.
That's Headliners every night from 11 p.m. and 5 a.m. as well on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. It is 48 minutes past 1. It's Good Afternoon Britain. It's me and it's Emily. We're having a great time. Apparently, it's extremely warm outside.
I wouldn't know.
We couldn't say. We've been in the basement studio all day. But some people are working from home. They're enjoying the fact that the start of May has brought the hottest day of the year.
Have you ever pulled a sickie because it's been beautiful weather?
Do you know what? I've never pulled a sickie in my life.
Never ever?
No, I live to work. I work to live.
Your parents teach you not that you just don't do that.
Yeah, I think if you want to get ahead in life, you have to be an honest grafter.
Yeah.
You can't be hiding.
You've got to go into school, you've got to go into work, you've got to do your duties, regardless of how you feel.
Yes.
Stiff upper lip,
Especially if you are a GB News reporter like Doogie Beattie and you're spending your day outside in Hyde Park. He'll never pull a sickie, would he? All right, Doogie, how's it going out there?
I've no need to pull a sickie. I'm out in the lovely sunshine. And just before you came to air, I've had an ice cream. Because it was all... Yeah. £4 for an ice cream, but I'll tell you what, it was worth it. Really, really creamy, really, really nice. £4 for an ice cream. Yeah, I wouldn't like to be taking the kids here to see Ben. Ben sits on Brighton Beach where he's probably getting Mr. Frosty for £1. He knows how to spoil the kids. Yeah, but it's been fantastic here today. The weather is absolutely outstanding. It's hotter here than it is in most of Europe. We may lap it up as it stands because, of course, being Britain, it won't last that long. Bank holiday on Monday, it's sure to break, or later on in the week. And in fact, where I come from, Northern Ireland, they've had showers today and quite cloudy weather in places. So to be in London, it's quite nice for me. If you just... You can see people are now starting to go back to work after their lunch hour. But, you know, the grass is still pretty much full of people. Across the other side, on the back of a tractor, that is there to actually wet the grass and make sure that it keeps dry, or keeps fertile and doesn't dry out, because the soil here is pretty thin. You can see the amount of trees about, but everybody here is having an absolutely fabulous time in the sunshine, and it's amazing just how well people feel, how much it makes you feel alive inside to see the sunshine. And actually, being a child of the 70s, I can't help but think of one of my favourite songs of Bruce Springsteen, The Girls in Their Summer Clothes. And here it is. Isn't it lovely? Look at that just outside.
All right,
And Emily, by the way, Emily, when you see Patrick later on, he assured me that the pedalos were powered, and I got on one this morning, and it was like doing the Olympics, getting back around that park again.
Doogie, thank you so much. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy what's left of that ice cream. £4, you better eat it all. Thanks, Doogie. We'll speak to you a little bit later. So yes, the news that Donald Trump has finally agreed that Russia's war in Ukraine was a full-scale invasion. This is in a new version of the minerals deal. Yes, this is according to The Telegraph. We're going to be hearing from the White House press secretary. She's a very confident woman, isn't she?
Yes, she is. She's an exceptional speaker, just in her 20s still, right? Yeah. Doing a marvellous job, regardless of your political views. Very much a sort of a pugnacious battler.
Well, because, Charlie, I mean, Donald Trump can be, change his mind on things a lot. and go from one thing to another. He likes to weave, doesn't he?
Oh, yeah.
Go from one point to the other, and she manages to present it in a concise way, whether you agree or don't agree.
Yeah, and also has the rather difficult job of not necessarily clarifying what the president said, but quite often she has to explain the clarity of the message that was attempted to put through. As you say, he can just weave through all sorts of ideas and issues.
Yes.
Often we get a better understanding of the man's mind through his press secretary.
And we might get more of an understanding of what exactly this minerals deal entails and how exactly it's going to bring us closer to peace in that part of the world. It'd be very interesting to hear what the White House has to say on this, what Donald Trump wants the world to know on this minerals deal. In other news, while we're waiting, lots of you have been getting in touch on that nanny debate. Leslie has. She says, having a nanny, heck yes. If you can afford it, go for it. I fobbed my son off on my own mother, poor unpaid woman, and went back to work ASAP. Why not let someone else have a job? Yes, exactly. Did you pay your mother? Probably not.
Yes. Well, we had that guest, Dr. Lisa McKenzie, who thought that paying someone to look after your child was unfair on the person doing the job. Well, you know, they've chosen to take it on. Apparently it's very, very poorly paid and awful, difficult work, but loads of people choose to do it. I mean, a lot of people, I think, also, Emily, they're mothers themselves who enjoyed that process. Well, I guess child rearing.
Child rearing.
Want to get back into the trade somewhere, you know, and it's an opportunity.
Child rearing does sound strange, doesn't it? It's almost like you're looking after a farm animal.
Yeah, well, you say the strangest things when you're ad-libbing towards the end.
Pete says good news from the FA about a change of the rules in women's football. I can't read out the rest of that, can I? From now on, there'll only be one ball on the pitch.
You can't read that one. Let's go back to Jack Carson's wonderful report from Lincolnshire, because lots of people have been getting in touch to say that they had family connections to Bomber Command, and we will be looking forward to VE Day on Monday, won't we, Emily? And a lot of people will be sharing those personal stories. Please do let us know what you'll be doing on VE Day, gbnews.com/your say. Do you have personal connections to that great celebration itself?
Do tell us, yes. And Doogie, Valerie says she only paid £3.50 for a 99 flake from a van on the seafront, just along from Worthing. She says it's expensive everywhere, so yeah, you're not that ripped off.
Isn't it? Well, this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. There's lots more coming up on today's show. Don't go anywhere. That press conference, but first and foremost, it's the weather. Let's go see how much sun we're going to get rest of today.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's very warm out there, even hot in places. Sunny skies across England and Wales, but cooler, cloudier weather spreading into Scotland and Northern Ireland for the rest of the day, along with a few showers because of this cold front. And this cold front separates the heat to the south with much fresher air coming in to the north. Now, the heat in the south could set off the odd shower or thunderstorm heading into the late afternoon, evening period. They'll linger across some central parts overnight. Otherwise, most places are dry with clear spells through the hours of darkness. And again, temperature contrast will be significant overnight. Low single figures possible in the north, even a touch of grass frost, but further south, another warm and muggy night in places. That leads us on to a bright start for most of us first thing Friday. Still some showers across the far north and northwest of Scotland, a cool breeze here, and plenty of cloud in the northwest of Scotland, but some decent sunny spells through Aberdeenshire, across Fife into the central belt. Northern Ireland also seeing bright skies first thing, but we've got this zone of cloud and a few showers dotted across parts of Mid Wales into the Midlands, and cloudier skies, certainly compared with the recent mornings for some southern and more especially southwestern counties of England. That'll tend to thin into the afternoon, and then plenty of sunny skies once again across England and Wales. Once more, though, Northern Ireland, Scotland seeing largely cloudy conditions, although brightening up as the day progresses. A few showers in the far north of Scotland, but for most it's a dry afternoon, and it's still very warm in the south and southeast, 26, 27 Celsius, much fresher elsewhere. Could see the odd shower for some of these southern counties of England, but for the vast majority it's a dry and fine day because we've still got high pressure nearby. However, it's bringing winds in from a different direction, so mostly fine weather going into the bank holiday weekend, 1 or 2 showers, but temperatures dropping away.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with skyroof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic fly past.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's News Channel.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is GB News, the People's Channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. It's 2 o'clock on Thursday, the 1st of May. I'm Emily Carver.
And I'm Charlie Peters.
Well, yes, the news today that the FA has announced that transgender women will no longer be able to play in women's football from the 1st of June. This follows, of course, that historic Supreme Court ruling on the legal definition of a woman. We'll have the latest reaction.
And counter-terror police will investigate the Irish group Kneecap, who have been heavily criticised for allegedly telling crowds to kill your local MP. Footage also emerged appearing to show a member of the trio shouting, "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah."
Yes, and it's a hot one outside. The Met Office has confirmed the record has been broken for the UK's warmest start to May, as temperatures reach 28 degrees in London. Could they go even higher? We've sent our reporters out and about to find out.
Yes, we've waited long enough for it, haven't we? Is there anywhere better to be than Britain when the sun is shining?
Absolutely not.
Well, we're also celebrating 115-year-old Ethel from Surrey, who has officially become the world's oldest person, born in 1909. She has lived through 2 world wars, 6 British monarchs and 27 prime ministers. What a woman. It's a good question from Ben Lair, wasn't it? Is there anywhere better to be than Britain on a day when it's this sunny? Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know.
French Riviera might be nice, if I'm honest.
English Riviera for me.
No, to be fair, to be in the English countryside today would be rather lovely, and I'm sure some of you are sitting in the countryside as we speak, lapping up that sunshine. Some of you, of course, will not be enjoying the sun. You'll probably be staying in the shade inside because not all of us, enjoy having the sun, or for health reasons and things like that. But it is glorious to at least look out the window.
Emily, that was very inclusive of you, I thought. That was
I am very inclusive, actually.
Nice. Well,
I may not like the whole, tick box exercise of diversity, equity and inclusion, but when it comes to being a decent human being, we can all be inclusive, can't we, Charlie?
Certainly
you include me.
Absolutely, I do.
Well, there we go. We can all include each other, isn't that lovely? But transgender women aren't going to be included in the female football.
That's true.
Now, some people have pointed out that there's only about 20 or so transgender women who are in football. Does that matter? Is it a principle thing? What happens to the transgender players? Will they no longer play at all? Or will they just go in the men's? Or will they find some kind of open category? Or will they try and dispute this, protest it?
Yeah, well, lots of questions, and we want them answered by you. We're keen to include you, of course, so please do send your views, post your comments, visit gbnews.com/your say, and we'll get to all of what you've got to say after we hear from Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much, Charlie. The top stories. Downing Street says biology matters in women's sport, following the Football Association's announcement that transgender women will no longer be allowed to play in women's football from the 1st of June this year. English football's governing body amended its rules last month, applying stricter eligibility criteria for trans women to continue playing in women's football, following the UK Supreme Court's ruling that the legal definition of a woman is based on biological sex. The FA has scrapped that policy and banned trans women from participating in women's football. The Met Office has confirmed today is the warmest start to May on record in the UK. That's after a temperature of 28 degrees was recorded at Kew Gardens in southwest London. The previous record for May was 27.4 degrees recorded in Lossiemouth in Scotland on May the 1st, 1990. Despite the soaring temperatures, the Met Office has ruled out a heat wave for this week. Well, that as the body of a teenager has been recovered from a lake in Nottinghamshire after reports of a 16-year-old boy getting into difficulty while swimming. A police underwater search team and the fire service responded, finding the boy's body just before 8 o'clock last night. Police confirmed the boy's death was not being treated as suspicious. It comes as parts of the UK are experiencing the hottest day of the year so far. Voters head to the polls today for the country's local elections. The fate of 23 local authorities, 6 mayoral seats and the first by-election of this parliament hangs in the balance. Voting closes at 10 o'clock tonight. Stay with GB News for all of the latest. An Australian woman accused of killing her in-laws with a poisonous beef Wellington has admitted to picking wild mushrooms but insists the tragedy was a terrible accident. Erin Patterson, who's pleaded not guilty to murdering her relatives, maintains that she didn't intend to cause anyone any harm that day. But prosecutors say she served the meal but ate from a separate, smaller and differently coloured plate than her 4 guests. The UK Foreign Secretary says the UK welcomes the signing of an economic deal between the US and Ukraine as the two countries signed an historic rare minerals deal. Late last night, the US Treasury announced a reconstruction investment fund for Ukraine, with the Ukrainian Prime Minister describing it as truly an equal and good international deal. This will allow America to use Ukraine's natural resources, including things like oil and gases. Ukraine's foreign minister says the deal is an important milestone in US partnership, which Sir Keir Starmer has agreed with, according to the Prime Minister's official spokesman. President Donald Trump has asked for more time on the US economy as it shrank for the first time in 3 years, stoking fears of a recession. Mr. Trump has said the figure was misleading because companies had stockpiled imports ahead of his imposition of tariffs.
But this is Biden's economy because we took over on January 20th, and I think you have to get us a little bit of time to get moving, but this is the Biden economy.
The Met Police says counter-terrorism police will investigate online videos amid allegations footage of Northern Irish rap trio Kneecap appeared to show its members calling for the death of British MPs and shouting "Up Hamas, up Hezbollah." The force says on the 22nd of April we were made aware of an online video believed to be from a music event in November last year in London. Following this, we were also made aware of a further video believed to be from another music event in London in November 2023. It goes on to say that both videos were referred to the Counter-Terrorism Internet Referral Unit for assessment by specialist officers who have determined there are grounds for further investigation. Well, let's take you live now to the White House and a press briefing there.
Okay, we do too. That's why we're doing them. It's good to see all of you. I brought a friend out here today who is happy to take your questions. But first, some remarks. At 11 o'clock, President Trump will participate in a National Day of Prayer event where he will invite Americans of all faiths across the country to join him in asking for God's continued blessings over our great country. During the event, the president will sign an executive order establishing a Religious Liberty Commission. Later today, President Trump will travel to the University of Alabama to deliver a commencement address to the graduating class of 2025. Last night, we saw yet again why President Trump is our deal maker in chief. We secured a historic agreement to establish the United States-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund. This is a first-of-its-kind economic partnership for the reconstruction and long-term economic success of Ukraine that the United States will greatly benefit from. This partnership represents the United States taking an economic stake in securing a free, peaceful, and sovereign future for Ukraine. This partnership establishes a fund that will receive 50% of royalties, license fees, and other similar payments from natural resource projects in Ukraine. President Trump has been clear from the beginning. He wants the killing in this brutal war to end. This agreement shows how invested the president is in securing a truly lasting peace. To mark President Trump's triumphant first 100 days in office, we've detailed all week how President Trump has been hard at work delivering on the promises he made to the American people. And yesterday, the president once again showcased why he is the most transparent and accessible president in American history when he held his fourth open press cabinet meeting. Every cabinet secretary went into great detail, explaining how their respective agencies are making life better for American families and businesses. And then the president allowed all of you to ask questions on anything you wanted afterwards. One of the main reasons President Trump won nearly 80 million votes, swept all 7 battleground states, and received a resounding mandate from the American public is because of the contrast he presented during the campaign and continues to this day. Everything in President Trump's agenda is grounded in one thing: common sense. While the Democrat Party went off the deep end and doubled down on pure craziness, President Trump pledged to restore common sense back to the United States of America. In a little more than 3 months, that's exactly what he's done. He recognized that America is a sovereign nation that cannot survive if it does not protect its territorial borders. So he secured the border in record time and ended the mass invasion of tens of millions of illegal aliens into our homeland. The president knows his top responsibility is ensuring the safety of the American people, which is why he's arresting violent illegal alien invaders in our communities who threaten our public safety. And it's unacceptable to President Trump to allow rampant waste, fraud, and abuse of Americans' precious tax dollars, which is why the president championed a historic DOGE effort that saved nearly $200 billion already. President Trump knows America is blessed with an abundance of liquid gold below our feet in the form of fossil fuels. So he ended Joe Biden's reckless war on American energy and is restoring American energy dominance to lower costs and strengthen our national security. President Trump believes Americans should be free to drive whatever car they want, so he ended Joe Biden's disastrous EV mandate and promoted true consumer choice. President Trump stood up for the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality before the law, so he terminated radical DEI preferencing and federal contracting and directed federal agencies to relentlessly combat private sector discrimination. DEI seeks to divide and pit Americans against each other based on immutable characteristics. President Trump put an end to it. In President Trump's America, individual dignity, hard work, and excellence are the only things that will determine if you get ahead. President Trump is a proud free speech champion, which is why he ended Joe Biden's trampling of free speech rights and the federal government's censorship of American speech on online platforms. The president believes college students have a right to speak their minds and go to school safely. Again, common sense. So he took bold action to protect Jewish American students from harassment by pro-Hamas radicals on their campuses. And President Trump knows that America's children are our future, and he'll never stop fighting for them. That's why he ended the radical, un-American indoctrination of children by eliminating support for divisive, radical gender ideology and equity ideology, and why the president protected parents' fundamental rights. And lastly, the president believes in fundamental biology. Isn't that something? Which is why he made it the official policy of the United States government that there are only two sexes, male and female. And because men and women are biologically different, President Trump ended the unfair, demeaning practice of forcing women to compete against men in sports and having their private spaces invaded. When President Trump promised a complete restoration of America and the revolution of common sense, he meant it. And over the next 100 days, get ready for historic trade deals, budget deals, and peace deals. For more on President Trump's common sense revolution, I will turn it over to our White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Policy, Stephen Miller. Stephen, thanks for coming in today.
Thank you, Caroline. Great to be up here with you, and great to see so many familiar faces I've had a chance to get to know over a number of years as we gather this morning to continue our celebration of President Trump's unprecedented and historic first 100 days in office, what are without doubt the greatest 100 days to begin any American presidency in the history of this nation. This week, you've heard about the historic actions President Trump has taken to secure our homeland, to secure our sovereignty, to secure our economy and our supply chains and our industrial base. Today, you're also going to hear from me about what President Trump has done to secure our values, our culture, and our way of life from the unwavering assault from the radical left and the communists and the Democrat Party. One of the most significant crises that President Trump inherited upon taking office was the wave of racial discrimination, so-called diversity, equity, and inclusion policies that have taken over both public sector and private sector entities all across the United States of America. Perhaps the most dramatic example of this is that our air traffic controllers were being hired and promoted based on race and gender, not their ability to conduct our nation's air traffic. I would estimate that probably 90% of Americans would agree with the statement that airline safety should be based on your ability to keep, airline safety jobs should be based on your ability to keep planes landing and taking off and flying safely, not on what demographic box you check. President Trump has ended across the entire federal government all hiring, recruiting, retention, promotion, and training based on race and sex. This includes in our law enforcement agencies. So again, when we took office, even in sensitive law enforcement, national security, and intelligence agencies, we were hiring individuals not on their ability to carry a weapon, not on their ability to keep Americans safe, not on their ability to conduct sensitive intelligence operations, but based upon race and sex. And obviously, that is unacceptable. It's going to be merit-based across the whole federal government. But this wasn't just the federal government. This was the private sector, and this was also, of course, our entire university and education system. So President Trump's Department of Justice, working with other departments and agencies, have made clear that this administration is going to fully enforce Title VI, Title VII, and Title IX of our federal civil rights code. Discrimination based on race and sex is prohibited by law, and this administration will vigorously enforce that. And companies, small or large, that violate plain text of federal statutes will face appropriate financial and other penalties. This administration is not going to let our society devolve into communist, woke, DEI strangulation. We are going to have a system of merit, which is not just a social and cultural issue, it's an economic issue. When you hire, retain, and recruit based on merit, as President Trump has directed, you advance innovation, you advance growth, you advance investment, you advance job creation, you create the best and safest product for all Americans. When a citizen goes to, say, a hospital in a medical emergency, they don't care what race or sex their doctor or their nurse is. They want the best treatment they can get in that emergency. when they're flying a plane or when they're on an aircraft, they want that pilot to be the best pilot, the safest pilot, not caring what that pilot's race or sex is. This applies across the whole government. In particular, looking at our university system. This administration has opened investigations into universities across the country for violating, and we talk a lot about Supreme Court rulings, universities across this country are in plain and direct violation of the Supreme Court's ruling that affirmative action, as in racial quotas and set-asides, are illegal. Students must be admitted to universities on a color-blind basis. But we have demonstrated through clear evidence that our university system, including our medical schools, and perhaps particularly our medical schools, are engaging in race-based discrimination, racial set-asides, racial quota schemes, and other efforts to evade the Supreme Court's ruling, and again, the plain text of federal statute. So universities are on notice, and universities are already facing the financial consequences of their noncompliance with federal law. The clearest example that we're all familiar with, of course, being Harvard, which is engaged in repeat, systemic, and sustained violations of federal civil rights law. Another area of civil rights law that we talk about a lot, of course, is Title IX, sex-based discrimination. And this administration ended the Biden administration's policy and the Democrat Party's policy of allowing men into women's sports, men into women's spaces. We are using every single legal and financial tool we have at President Trump's direction to make it clear that schools and universities are and will lose federal funds, as you've seen in Maine, if you allow men to invade women's sports and women's spaces. And this applies to our whole K-12 system. The Department of Justice is also coordinating with state and local law enforcement to fight child abuse in our school systems. It is child abuse to change a child's gender, particularly if you do not inform the parents. In other words, if a 5-year-old or a 6-year-old goes to school, or a 7-year-old goes to school, and the teacher tries to turn the boy into a girl or the girl into a boy, that is child abuse. And this administration is treating that as child abuse. And it is a gross violation of parental rights. This also includes the administration's message to our hospital systems that they cannot and will not be allowed to use taxpayer dollars to perform chemical castrations and sexual mutilations of children. Castration surgeries, castration drugs, sterilization treatments of children are barbaric. They violate all sound medical ethics. They are completely unwarranted. They harm children for life, irreversibly. It is child torture. It is child abuse. It is medical malpractice. And so the Department of Health and Human Services, under the leadership of Bobby Kennedy, as well as the Department of Justice and other departments of this government, are making clear to our medical providers and our hospital systems that you cannot use taxpayer dollars to perform these barbaric procedures on America's children. And HHS has systematically updated eliminated all of the junk, fake science that was produced under the Biden administration promoting sex changes on children, promoting the idea of sterilizing children. That's been cleaned out. That's been removed, and new guidance is being issued to doctors and hospitals advising them that they cannot perform these horrifying procedures, these irreversible procedures on our nation's children. We are also making clear in our prison system, male prisoners will not be allowed into women's prisons. The Biden administration promoted prison rape by putting men into female prisons. That is obviously insane, cruel, and unacceptable. And even though the Democrat Party and Hakeem Jeffries and the Democrat media continue to fight to put men into women's prisons, this administration will not allow that. And will not allow men, as well, in our K-12 system, into women's private spaces and restrooms. We have seen horrifying example after example of young girls being sexually assaulted because school districts have allowed men into women's and girls' private spaces. This administration, President Trump, is at the forefront of protecting women and protecting girls. And nowhere is that clearer than when we are talking about fighting radical gender ideology. This administration is also fighting to get critical race theory out of our school districts. Children will be taught to love America. Children will be taught to be patriots. Children will be taught civic values for schools that want federal taxpayer funding. So as we close the Department of Education and we provide funding to states, we are going to make sure that these funds are not being used to promote communist ideology. For any nation to be successful, it cannot teach its children to hate themselves and to hate their country. So these are a few of the areas in which President Trump has fought the cancerous, communist, woke culture that was destroying this country, where we were led to believe that men were women, that women were men, that racial discrimination was good, that merit was bad, and that safety and physical security mattered less than the feelings of liberal ideologues. The president has also fought to return the Department of Justice to its core mission of protecting public safety and locking up violent criminals, instead of using the Department of Justice to target conservatives, to target Christians, to target people of faith. The last administration cruelly and shamefully used the power of the Justice Department to go after law-abiding Americans, in particular Trump supporters, conservatives, and Christians. That persecution has ended. The Department of Justice and the FBI are back in the business of going after bad guys, of going after gangs, of going after criminals, and keeping Americans safe. Let me just conclude before taking questions by noting that when you look at the sweep of the first 100 days, every single crisis that has afflicted America for years, sometimes decades, sometimes generations, this president has fought head on. He has taken on every entrenched power structure and system all across this government, this swamp, this town. That includes, of course, the DOGE efforts to slash corrupt, wasteful government spending, graft, and corruption, and to stop billions of taxpayer dollars from going to radical left NGOs. These are left-wing nonprofits that are used to advance illegal immigration, to advance open borders, to advance gender ideology, and to advance all of this insanity that has been turning our country in the wrong direction for so many years. President Trump took head on the trade crisis afflicting this country with the destruction of our manufacturing and industrial base, the shameful betrayal of the American worker by Joe Biden and the globalists that sent all of our supply chains overseas. He took head on the catastrophe of mass, unlimited illegal immigration that was turning us into a failed third world state, and achieved the lowest level of illegal immigration in recorded history without even a close second. He took on the economic crisis afflicting this country by reopening American energy, by defeating inflation, by lowering gas prices, by ending the onslaught and reversing the onslaught of federal regulation, by reopening coal, shale, oil, natural gas, and fighting now for the largest tax cut and reform, and the largest deregulation reform, and the largest energy reform in American history. These are just some of the things that have ushered in the new golden age, along with his fight to restore the peace that we had for 4 years under the previous administration before Joe Biden sunk this planet into bloodshed and war in the Middle East, in Europe, and rising tensions in Asia. President Trump, in every area of conflict around the globe, has been fighting to restore peace, security, stability, harmony. So he inherited an economic catastrophe, a border catastrophe, a public safety catastrophe, and a cultural catastrophe. And in every case, he has reversed those catastrophes and brought America into the new golden age. So I thank you for your time, and I look forward to any questions you have.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. And as always, we'll start with our new media seat today. Chris Bedford from the Blaze Media. Why don't you kick us off?
Thank you very much. Stephen, what is the end goal of the China tariffs right now? Is the idea to open up the Chinese markets through a deal to a better market for exporting American goods to China, or is it a reconfiguration of global trade in a way that isolates China from free countries?
No. So China is a unique situation. Obviously, the president has talked at length about what happened to us economically since China's entrance into the World Trade Organization, and the trillions and trillions of dollars of trade deficits that we've racked up with China over the period of that time, and what that's meant for our national security, what that's meant for our economic security, what that's meant for our supply chains. Obviously, right now, the Secretary of the Treasury is in the process of developing a plan that will answer the questions that you're talking about, but the president's goals have been very clear on these points, which is that he is not going to allow China to continue to steal our intellectual property, to continue to illegally dump and subsidize their goods in our markets, to manipulate their currency, to rack up an unsustainable trade deficit. We need to have a trade relationship with China that does not do harm to our nation's economic and national security. And that has to be the guidepost of any objective. At the same time, tariffs will bring significant revenue into this country that will allow us to pursue our dramatic plan of tax cuts and reforms.
Awesome. Great. Bloomberg, go ahead.
Hi. First of all, similar to my question, I'm curious, Kevin Hassett went on CNBC this morning and said that they were expecting some sort of news on tariffs by the end of the day. Do you have any insight into that?
I don't want to get ahead of any announcement, but I'll just reiterate that right now, countries from all over the world, because of President Trump's leadership, are desperate and dying to make trade deals with the United States. We're going to evaluate each of those deals, and President Trump is personally involved in making sure that these negotiations serve only one interest, which is the interest of the United States of America, and we'll end up with a deal in these cases where, yes, the other countries, obviously, will have their own demands and their own interests, but nothing will go into effect that doesn't serve the interests of America and the American people.
Mary, thank you. Stephen, this morning GM is putting a dollar figure on how much the president's tariffs will impact the company. The CEO says tariffs will cost GM between $4 and $5 billion this year. The CEO of Ford says he can't commit to not raising prices because of tariffs. Is the administration open to doing more to give automakers relief?
The question, unfortunately, misses the entire point, which is that U.S. automakers have announced dramatic investments and expansions inside the United States. American auto plants are growing, they are expanding, they're opening new facilities, they're expanding existing facilities that are already in operation, because it is now the case that for the first time in our lives, that American cars receive preference in America's markets. The U.S. auto industry used to control the entire world. I believe the number during the heyday was that 70% of all cars in the world were made in Michigan. And now, of course, we've become a tiny fraction of the global market. And the reason for that is because the United States opened its markets to every single foreign cheater and every single foreign nation that subsidized its goods on the face of the earth, and their markets have been closed to ours. Japan closed their market to our cars. The entire EU closed their market to our cars. South Korea closed their market to our cars. All of the countries I just mentioned have tens of billions of dollars of annual trade deficits in automobiles with the United States. These are supposedly pure nations, nations that have at least a somewhat equivalent per capita GDP. So it is impossible under the terms of fair trade, if you have two nations with similar per capita GDP, to have such uneven trade flows in automobiles. What the president has done with his car tariff, we have the most desirable market in the world, is if you want to sell cars tariff-free, tax-free to our market, your plant has to operate in the United States. The only alternative to that is to have no U.S. automobile industry whatsoever, which is where this was headed, to be clear. If we stayed on this current path, within a few years, there would have been no U.S. automobile industry. And what little was left of it would have been in Mexico. Because U.S. auto companies have steadily been shifting their supply chains to Mexico, where they believe it is cheaper to make their products. In reality, it'll be cheaper to make them here because there'll be no tariff for anything made in the United States, and we'll have the cheapest energy and the best regulatory environment in the face of the earth.
But in the meantime, while manufacturing ramps up, American consumers may pay more. Do you agree?
Not on cars they won't, because again, there's now a massive economic incentive for automobile producers to expand production in the United States, and whatever they make here, there will be no tariff.
We'll go to the back row. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. Today, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce released a letter to the Trump administration asking for small business tariff relief. They say that's necessary because in order to save small businesses and to stave off a recession. Stephen, is the administration considering small business tariff relief?
The relief for small businesses is going to come in the form of the largest tax cut in American history. A tax cut, by the way, that every single Democrat is planning to vote against. They're voting for a tax hike on every middle-class family of about $4,000. The president has made clear that there will be a 100% expensing for investment in the United States. Companies that invest in the United States will be able to deduct 100% of that cost from their tax liability. This will be the most pro-small business tax bill in American history. And at the same time, this is what you have to understand about the plan, is as they're able to do that, as they're able to reshore those supply chains, that also means they'll pay no tariff. So you'll have the lowest tax environment and there'll be no tariff because their production and supply chains will be in the United States.
That's a no on tariff relief for small businesses in the short term?
It's a yes on tax relief for small businesses. And again,
OK, well, there you go. That was live in the White House with the Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, followed by the Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller there for their daily briefing. Lots of questions about what's happening with China, what's happening with tariffs, what's happening to the auto industry. They were talking about diversity, equity, inclusion and the trans issue as well.
The press was reeled in with a tease about this Ukraine deal, and then Stephen Miller subjects them to a long lecture about DEI and gender issues.
Yes, true, very true. Well, get your views in, lots of you getting in touch, but this is Good Afternoon Britain on GB News. Lots more coming up on today's show. Yes, we are going to head outside again because the Met Office has confirmed that the record has now been broken for the UK's warmest start to May ever. That's as temperatures reach 28 degrees. They could go even further.
Yes, and temperatures are hotting up also in the White House. Come back to us just after this break.
Very good.
Hello and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's another dry and sunny one for most of us today. Hot in the south, hotter than the last few days, but cooler in the north as a cold front starts to move southwards. That contains fresher air, an area of cloud and the chance of a few showers pushing into parts of Northern Ireland and southern Scotland. As the afternoon begins, 1 or 2 showers popping up for the far north of England ahead of it as well, perhaps even the odd thunderstorm. Likewise, further south, where we've got strong sunshine and rising temperatures, the chance of a thunderstorm developing in the afternoon, but these will be isolated. For most, it's another sunny day, and it's a hot day with temperatures widely in the mid to high 20s, 29 in the afternoon high, somewhere between London and Bristol. But much cooler for Scotland and Northern Ireland, certainly feeling fresher as that Atlantic air moves in, bringing a few showers for northwest Scotland, cloudier skies as well, but some sunshine reappearing through the central belt and into parts of Northern Ireland late afternoon and through the evening. Showers trickling their way through northern England and the odd shower continuing through parts of Wales and central England, perhaps even a thunderstorm rumbling into the evening. But for many across England and Wales, it is dry, and it's going to be a very warm night in the south once again because the cold front really stalls across central parts of the country, again bringing a few showers with it. But it's going to be a much cooler night for northern parts of the country, perhaps a grass frost for some sheltered parts of England, northern England that is, and parts of Scotland. Further south, a muggy night to come. Temperatures in the mid-teens in places, and a fine start to the day on Friday. Plenty of sunshine, any showers first thing tending to ease away. And then, well, temperatures are lowering, but we keep the very warm air in the far south, 27 or 26 degrees. Further north, feeling much fresher, but still plenty of fine weather.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Good afternoon, this is the latest AI travel news from gbnews.com. In Essex, the M8 eastbound on-slip at junction 4 Whitburn is closed for maintenance with diversions marked. Resurfacing on the M4 between junctions 22, Pilning and 23 Rogier closes the Prince of Wales Bridge. In Cheshire West, the A483 northbound faces 10-minute delays due to congestion between the A5, 156 and the A55. In Kent, the M20 westbound between junctions 12 and 11 is closed due to a vehicle fire, causing 10-minute delays. On the A38 eastbound in Devon, a broken-down vehicle closes one lane. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Crash Law 24 sponsors GB News Traffic and Travel Report.
Well, good afternoon, Britain. It's 2:35 and it's a very lovely day outside. The hottest day at the start of May on record ever.
Yeah, 28 degrees in London town. That's what we're being told. Could this be a sign of a long summer to come? We're certainly hoping so. And joining us now to report on the ground of this mini heatwave, I suppose, is the GB News reporter Dougie Beattie in Hyde Park and live from Brighton Beach. It's GB News presenter Ben Leo. Ben, let's go to you first down on the south coast. What's the mood down there?
The mood is absolutely banging, let me tell you. If you can see all the way down Brighton Beach here on the Pebbles, we've got the pier in the background. In the sea, we've got paddle boarders, jet skiers just to the right-hand side, the remains of the West Pier. just to the right of that. It's really, really nice weather. It's not as hot as London, which is about 28, I think, Charlie and Emily. Down here in Brighton, it's around 21, 22, which, to be honest, is perfect. And I have found some beach revellers as well for you guys to say hello to. Hello, guys and girls. We've got Macy, Steph and Luke here. You're all dancers, aren't you?
Yes, we are. We're dancers, have been since we was very young.
And today, you've been out since what time?
Since about 9 o'clock this morning, haven't we?
9 a.m?
Yeah. Hot
Sun-loving.
day, why not?
And what's the plan for the rest of the day? How long are you going to be sunbathing for? Any plans tonight?
We'll sunbathe until the sunset and then we'll go for a nice few cocktails along the seafront. There's loads of lovely places in Brighton, so yeah.
And Steph, is Brighton the best place to be when the sun's shining?
I definitely think it is. You've got everything here. You've got the sea, the beach, restaurants, pubs, bars. So definitely, yeah.
And what's your drink of choice today, ladies? Macy, what's yours?
Oh, sex on the beach.
Oh, OK, all right, there we go. Steph?
I would say a porn star martini.
OK, there we go. Nice nice brace. And Luke, just tell me, mate, how many times have you been in the sea today?
Not once yet.
Not once?
No, would you believe? Would you believe? Sun's out. I'm going to go in a second, though. Has to be done.
Good man.
Yeah, has to be done.
I might join you a bit later on. Come, Emily and Charlie, come 4 o'clock. You may see me dipping in the sea with Luke. But that's all from Brighton Beach. Catch up with me in just a short while.
Oh,
Cheers,
sex
Ben.
on the beach,
Sex
eh?
on the beach, oh.
Sex on the beach.
He's really got the hardest gig today, our man, Ben. Yeah, he really does. Well, Doogie Beatty in Hyde Park, one of the royal parks. A slightly more, I don't know, relaxed feel over there, is it, Doogie? Who's with you?
Oh, well, it couldn't be any different than it is. I just listened to Ben there, and I'm thinking of the beach, the people in the sea, partying away. And, of course, I'm here in Hyde Park. It is 28 degrees. It is absolutely beautiful, but it's very conservative. If you look over my shoulder there, you'll see the lovely Venetian bridge, people sitting down in the cafeteria behind, swans going all around us, no loud music. In fact, there was a violin playing here just a short while ago, so a total contrast, although better weather here. And it is, of course, the hottest May to ever start. And that comes after the sunniest April since records began in 1910, and it was the third hottest April since records began. So maybe we are in for a summer like we had in 1976, 77. I remember it so well. But people here going about their business, deck chairs in the park, people sitting on the benches, really enjoying the sun, lapping it up, and pretty much enjoying themselves. It actually makes me feel a bit guilty for paddling about in the paddle boat earlier on, getting on like a bit of a fool, but there you go. And yeah, they're really enjoying themselves here. And earlier on, I spoke to a few of the tourists that actually were here.
Seems like you're having a wonderful time there. OK, and there's Ben Leo, relaxing in the sun, having a wonderful time, isn't he? We're jealous of all of our reporters out and about on the ground today.
Well, at least you know Ben Leo's kept his shirt on for the occasion.
Well, do you know what? I thought he might make the most of the opportunity to get extra sun on his skin. But
Lots of you have commented about Ben's report there.
You've got a tough gig, apparently, according to Helen Manning. Sue Ryder says, poor Doogie. Where are his lovely guests? Well, that's not exactly what Sue said, but I won't read out what she said. But... And Bobby Dazzler says, poor Doogie always gets the short straw. I wouldn't go with that. He's been flown into London town to report on the weather. I think Doogie's having an absolute
Well, you know what?
day.
It's a lovely day.
Yeah.
It's a lovely day. Why not?
Yes.
You know, get into your bikini or your trunks and get a little bit of sunshine.
Yes,
you know?
just,
Why
just
not?
a touch. Well, hopefully by the time this show is over...
Any cocktails, you know?
When Martin takes over, you and I can go out and join Ben Leo on this wonderful working afternoon. Get on the train.
Anyway, enough of that, because we're going to talk about something else. The King, yes, he's opened up about his cancer journey in what's been described as his most personal message to date.
Yes, he described it as a frightening time for him and his whole family, admitting there have been dark moments since he was first diagnosed in February of last year, just 1 month before Her Royal Highness the Princess of Wales revealed her cancer battle.
Yes, alongside Queen Camilla, the King held a reception at Buckingham Palace to celebrate the cancer organisations and charities that help save millions of lives. Well, joining us is former senior royal gardener, Jack Stooks. Jack, Presumably the King will have thought long and hard, hi Jack, will have thought long and hard about what exactly to say in this message, how much he wants to give of his own personal experience of cancer. It's a very personal message, but we've come to expect that now from the King, haven't we?
We have, yes, and this is amazing to see, and I think it's also helped the country warm to him a lot more than initially that they had. When he was first diagnosed, he came straight out and, he publicly told everybody what was happening and that he needed to take time out from his royal duties. And obviously, we then saw that the Princess of Wales tried a different approach. She thought she wanted to keep it private, and that seemed to sort of go a bit awry at the time. Obviously, since then, she then also came out and discussed that very openly. And now, they've had time to have their own personal space. They've had time to grieve, for want of a better word, for what's actually going on within the family. And they're now discussing this openly, and they're actually using the royal family, using that as a tool to be able to help people, to get these charities known, and just the amazing work that the charities are doing for cancer within the United Kingdom.
And Jack, we've also seen, obviously, over the years, the King having a close relationship with many cancer charities. This isn't a new effort brought on just by his family and personal experience. What's the significance of him bringing them all together in Buckingham Palace like that?
I think the significance is exactly what we have spoken about with him having now actually had cancer and experienced it personally. It's very meaningful for him. He knows people that have had cancer, that have suffered from cancer, that he's lost friends, friends and family. I mean, we all can appreciate that and recognize that within our own friends and family circles. And this has sort of really taken it to his heart. And he's a great supporter of many charities in the UK. I mean, he's done fantastic work for the charities. And I've said it before, and he is just constantly working and making sure that his charities are constantly making money to be able to help and support all the focus that those charities have, be it sort of helping children, be it helping people get into jobs and roles, the King's Foundation. There's so many other charities, but I think having had this year of awful cancer diagnosis, and he's now living with cancer. I know we've been told that the Princess of Wales is in remission, but he's actually still currently living with cancer and still undergoing the treatment. So he's seeing this on a weekly basis.
Absolutely. Well, Jack Stokes, thank you very much indeed, former senior royal gardener. Hope you enjoy some time out in the greenery of your own garden today.
Yes, absolutely, because many people are. They're looking not only for the sun at home, but also holiday sun. They're looking where they could be travelling. And we've got the forecast for some of the top European holiday destinations. Here they are.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, the UK has the warm, sunny weather. There's more rain to come in Spain and Portugal. Fine conditions across much of Italy. A few showers across the eastern Mediterranean. Generally dry for the Canaries, but not particularly warm yet. Wet and windy weather sweeping into Portugal and across mainland Spain, although many of the southern costas of Spain dry and sunny. Certainly plenty of sunshine for Italy, Sardinia and Corsica. A few showers over Cyprus and Turkey. Temperatures will be rising in the Canaries over the next few days.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Well, yes, this is Good Afternoon Britain. Coming up in just a moment, we're celebrating the 115-year-old Ethel from Surrey, who's officially become the world's oldest person. Yes, she was born in 1909. She's lived through not one, but 2 world wars, 6 British monarchs, and 27 prime ministers. So what is the key to living such a long life? We're asking an expert after this.
What is the state of our economy? What is the state of our National Health Service? What is the state of our schools?
What on earth is going on?
Understanding Britain means understanding the state we are in. This is State of the Nation with me, Matt Goodwin, Wednesdays, Thursdays and Fridays from 8 p.m. on GB News.
We have a royal invitation for you this Bank Holiday Monday.
It's VE Day. We're going to be here at Buckingham Palace from dawn till dusk and at street parties all across the country.
Join us for the pomp, the pageantry, the marches and the dramatic fly past.
A day when we can all feel proud to be British. VE Day all day Monday and throughout next week. Only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
Because
the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Welcome back. It's the 48 minutes past 2 and you're watching Good Afternoon Britain on GB News.
The 48 minutes.
The 48. Well, she's seen it all. World wars, moon landings and even the coronavirus.
Yes, meet Ethel May Caterham from Surrey, now officially the oldest person on the planet, aged 115 years old.
Now, after a Brazilian nun very sadly passed away, Ethel has taken on the crown of proving that age really is just a number, and a rather fabulous one at that. And joining us now to discuss the secret to a happy, healthy and long life is the Green Goddess, Diana Moran. Diana, thank you so much for coming on the programme. It's remarkable, isn't it? 115 years. How has she managed it?
Fantastic. Well, I'd like to think that she's kept herself both physically and mentally active over all that time, because those are the most important rules, not to slow down and get bigoted. I personally find that keeps my mind active, keeps me up to date with what's going on, and listening to something like GB News. Keeps you up to date.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe she's a GB News viewer. She's been listening to our debates and our conversations, keeping her mental ability up to scratch. But how important are personal relationships as well? You do hear that, unfortunately, there are a lot of elderly people and people alike, you know, whatever age, who are extremely lonely. And how important is it to maintain relationships, if you can, going forward, in terms of keeping young?
Well, you're asking me at a very difficult time because I've just lost my partner of 10 years, Robin.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Diana. I'm very sorry.
So I'm in the process of grieving. And what is happening is that all my friends and my family are coming to me. And that is one of the secrets of growing older more happily, because you can keep up to date with younger people, and then old friends will set you challenges. Well, come and see us, come and travel, or let's talk about the gardening we're doing, or how are the pets. All those sorts of things can help keep us young and stop us, as I say, from getting, well, sad, but also bigoted.
Well, Diana, as you've been showing that, we've also just seen some really lovely photos of Ethel on our screens. They're celebrating with her friends and family. We'll bring those back in a sec, but it just goes to show that even in periods of sadness and joy, it's having people around you that really ensures that you maintain that sort of active mind and body and spirit as well.
Certainly it does. And now you were talking earlier about King Charles and the work that he's doing with charities and voluntary work. Well, now, I have all of my life done a great deal of voluntary work. And only just yesterday I was down in Camberley and we were dealing with elderly people who could be alone. It's so important. If you've got time on your hands, go and visit somebody. You could make their day. If you see somebody without a smile, give them yours. It'll cost you nothing, but my goodness, it can make their day so much richer.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's been fantastic to speak to you. And of course, we didn't even touch on the, you know, cutting down on the booze, making sure you don't smoke too much, making sure you go to the gym and things like this, or at least go for a walk. But that is so important, as well as all the relationships and the mental gymnastics as well we should also do, or at least training. Diana Moran, thank you very much indeed for coming on. The Green Goddess. Thank you.
Lovely responses from our audience there. Matthew Swan says, Diana, we feel for you, love. God bless. And I'm sure plenty of people also sitting at home thinking the same, Emily.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Well, thank you for joining us on the show today. It's been a nice one without the usual politics, hasn't it? We've still managed to have a few debates.
We have. That's all part of the course for us, of
still
course.
Still managed
GB News.
to, you know, get them in, don't we?
Yeah. and we're both here tomorrow afternoon from 12 to 3. We will be going through a bit more political reaction tomorrow.
Big day, the results.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you so much for watching Good Afternoon Britain. It's been a real pleasure. But don't go anywhere, because coming up next, it's Martin Daubney.
Hello guys, thank you for a great show, and it's great to be back in Britain. I had a week in the land of the free, in Texas, where everything is bigger. Certainly my waist size is, after a week of those portions. Talked about great helpings, huge portions on today's show. A victory at last for women in women's sports, as biological men, trans women kicked out of the sport, followed swiftly by netball and cricket. Is this a red card, or the stumps up for the trans movement? Plus, tourism in Ireland 15% down in 1 year. Can you guess why? That's right, spiralling street crime, spiralling violence, and it's all down to uncontrolled illegal immigration. The Emerald Isle, things aren't looking so rosy over there. I'll have a full analysis of that as deportation flights commence in Ireland. That's all coming on my show. It's wonderful to be back in the hot seat. I'll be the other side of this break. But first, here's your weather on this sensational, sizzling day.
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello again and welcome to the latest update from the Met Office for GB News. It's very warm out there, even hot in places. Sunny skies across England and Wales, but cooler, cloudier weather spreading into Scotland and Northern Ireland for the rest of the day, along with a few showers because of this cold front. And this cold front separates the heat to the south, with much fresher air coming in to the north. Now, the heat in the south could set off the odd shower or thunderstorm heading into the late afternoon, evening period. They'll linger across some central parts overnight. Otherwise, most places are dry with clear spells through the hours of darkness. And again, temperature contrast will be significant overnight. Low single figures possible in the north, even a touch of grass frost, but further south, another warm and muggy night in places. That leads us on to a bright start for most of us first thing Friday. Still some showers across the far north and northwest of Scotland, a cool breeze here, and plenty of cloud in the northwest of Scotland, but some decent sunny spells through Aberdeenshire, across Fife into the central belt. Northern Ireland also seeing bright skies first thing, but we've got this zone of cloud and a few showers dotted across parts of mid Wales into the Midlands, and cloudier skies certainly compared with the recent mornings for some southern and more especially southwestern counties of England. That'll tend to thin into the afternoon, and then plenty of sunny skies once again across England and Wales. Once more though, Northern Ireland, Scotland seeing largely cloudy conditions, although brightening up as the day progresses. A few showers in the far north of Scotland, but for most it's a dry afternoon, and it's still very warm in the south and southeast, 26, 27 Celsius, much fresher elsewhere. Could see the odd shower for some of these southern counties of England, but for the vast majority it's a dry and fine day because we've still got high pressure nearby. However, it's bringing winds in from a different direction, so mostly fine weather going into the bank holiday weekend, 1 or 2 showers, but temperatures dropping away.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Courtesy of Marquis Leisure, you could be driving away with this brand new Elnag Baron 560 motorhome. It comfortably sleeps 4, comes with sky roof, integrated kitchen and bathroom, and is worth over £67,000. And that's not all, as we'll also give you a further £5,000 in tax-free cash to make sure that wherever this motorhome takes you, it takes you there in style. For another chance to win the lot, text WIN to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB13 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 6th of June. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
People sometimes think if someone is homeless, they're not trying for work, or I mean, you clearly have been.
Yes,
but
yes.
just not getting enough to actually be able
That's
to
the thing.
fund what's so expensive.
When you're self-employed, anyone who's self-employed will understand me that it's got its moments of being busy and quieter.
And have you experienced that stigma of being homeless and not having anywhere to call home?
Yes, I definitely have. I felt it through losing friends. I've realised who my true people are, I would say. It's crazy how humanity still exists. More recently than not, I put a post out saying I didn't have anywhere to go one of the nights, and I was in the council the next day and I needed to be in Windsor because the council were nearby, and a couple of people reached out that I didn't even know, a couple, and I stayed at theirs, and they even give me a warm meal. So humanity does exist. And but where's my friends in all this, you know?
Yeah.
A few friends have stepped up a little bit more now and realised this is, you know, become a problem. When they've seen me and actually spoke to me properly and realised this is what I'm going through, they've helped me and let me stay on the sofa, or, you know, but it's all temporary.
Just briefly, what about charities in all of this? Are they able to help?
Crisis and Shelter, I've just gone around in circles with. I haven't got any direct help so much. Not been able to get through to anyone. I've wrote to them, I've emailed them, I've Instagrammed them. But the only charity that has helped me, and it's a kind of an unusual one, is Dogs Trust.
Oh, right.
Because I walk dogs, I've been in contact with them to help the homeless dogs get rehomed. I was supporting them, and then all of a sudden they've pulled me in and said, look, you should come down to the Newbury Dogs Trust in Berkshire. We can support you. We have this together through homelessness.
The People's Channel.
A very, very good afternoon to you. It's 3 p.m. and it's great to be back in the saddle. Welcome to the Martin Daubney Show here on GB News. We're broadcasting for you live from the heart of Westminster and all across the UK. On today's show, in what's been welcomed as a huge victory for women's rights and for safety, the Football Association has decided to kick out trans women from all women's football as of next season. Now, the move was swiftly followed by England netball, with the England and Wales Cricket Board expected to also stump the trans movement. Is this the beginning of the end of the trans movement? And controversial Irish rap act Kneecap are facing a counter-terror probe after they said kill your local MP and up the Hamas, up Hezbollah at gigs. We'll have all the latest with our home and security editor. And the US has signed an historic minerals deal with Ukraine. Could this long-awaited signing mean the end of the war in Ukraine? And that's all coming up in your next hour. Welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have your company.